Chapter 69. Today's crew was the same as usual. There were no changes just because of the second male lead. Zhao Xizhou was surrounded by a group of girls who were listening to him talk about his glorious history in the entertainment industry. Jiao Qingqing's relationship with Ning Xueluo was getting better and better. She was excitedly talking about the diamond bracelet that her father had just bought for her. Only Ning, she was looking forward to it. After all, she had too many scenes with the second male lead, and the quality of the second male lead would affect her greatly. Jiao Qingqing fiddled with the sparkling diamond bracelet on her wrist and said disdainfully, "Sister Xueluo, look at how she's waiting for a man." She even took the director's words seriously. Does she think she can wait until Panan comes out? Ning Xueluo looked helpless and said, "Don't pick on Ning Shi. She has the most scenes with the second male lead, so it's normal for her to pay more attention to it than us. Haha, there are quite a lot of kissing scenes and sex scenes. Luckily I didn't take the role back then, otherwise I would have been taken advantage of." Jiao Qingqing said happily and then looked at Ning Xueluo enviously. "Sister Xueluo, you're the best. Your boyfriend is so handsome, and so is your partner." Just then, Director Guo Qixing's excited voice came from the entrance of the set. Come, everyone. Our second male lead, the actor who plays Sun Huanqing, is here. Everyone, come over and say hello." The response from the crew was sparse. Zhao Xizhou had no intention of getting up and the girls were still surrounding him, fighting to get him to read their palms. Jiao Qingqing snorted disdainfully and didn't even look outside. Ning Xueluo touched up her makeup and stood up to persuade her. "Let's go and say hello. After all, we're colleagues." Jiao Qingqing then followed her out of the break room reluctantly. Ning she naturally flew over immediately. She was looking out when she felt as if she had been struck by lightning from the ninth heaven. The guy next to the director was that eye-catching golden hair. Even if she wanted to lie to her eyes and say that she saw wrongly, it was impossible. Why was the second male lead that guy? This can't be real. At the entrance, Xiao Li, the stage supervisor, suddenly screamed. Jiao Qingqing frowned. "Are you crazy? What are you yelling about?" Right after he said that, he saw the man behind the director from the corner of his eyes. "Ah!" She let out a scream as well. "What's wrong?" Ning Xueluo asked. Jiang Mui. Sister Xueluo. It's Jiang Mui." Jiao Qingqing pinched Ning Xueluo's arm in excitement. "What?" Ning Xueluo followed her gaze. The director chuckled as he walked in front of Lin Yiqian. Beside him was a blonde man dressed in a very trendy t-shirt and shorts. With one hand in his pocket, he wore an arrogant and mischievous expression that was unique to him. When he smiled at Lin Yiqian, he revealed his cute canine teeth. Jiang Mui. The second male lead was actually Jiang Mui. Even Ning Xueluo was shocked by the result. At this moment, the young girls who had been surrounding Zhao Xizhou had already rushed to the door like a pack of hungry wolves. "Ah, Jiang Mui. Was it really Jiang Mui? Are my eyes playing tricks on me? Quick, pinch me. Oh my god." As expected of a walking aphrodisiac, he was simply too handsome. He was so handsome that my legs turned to jelly. I heard that Jiang Mui even has milk powder. He didn't even let an 8-year-old lady go. Don't stop me. It's not easy to see the real person. I'm going to sleep with him. If I can't sleep with Jiang Mui, I'm no different from a salted fish. Chapter 70. Who was the most popular young male idol in the entertainment circle? No matter who you are, they will tell you this name, Jiang Mui. Jiao Qingqing still couldn't accept this fact. She walked back and forth angrily. Is there something wrong? Isn't Jiang Mui filming abroad? Even if he's back, how could he play a supporting role? Ning Xueluo pondered. It's said that Jiang Mui won't play any role other than the male lead. Besides, the main investor of this show is Starlight. Why would an actor from Shengsha act in it? Jiao Qingqing, who was just glad that she didn't have to be taken advantage of, was about to go crazy. Damn it. Why is it like this? Why is Ningxi so lucky? Jiang Mui should be mine. He's mine. It's all her fault for snatching my role. The onlookers looked at Jiao Qingqing sympathetically. They weren't surprised that she was going crazy. Everyone in the entertainment circle knew that Jiao Qingqing liked Jiang Mui and had publicly confessed her love for him on Weibo. Although Jiang Mui didn't respond to her, she often reposted messages related to Jiang Mui on Weibo like a crazy fan. Guo Qisheng spent a lot of effort to calm the crazy girls down. He couldn't help but tease, "Mui, look at how much you've charmed the girls in our crew. Handsome guys are always treated well." Jiang Mui followed the director's words and joked, "Director, didn't you hear that? They just want to sleep with me, so you must protect me. Ha ha ha. It's okay. Your CP is Meng Chang'e, the god of war. She will protect you. Oh, by the way, where's Ningxi? She kept asking me who her supporting role was. Where is she now?" Guo Qisheng looked for her everywhere. Jiang Mui curled up the corner of his mouth with a faint smile. "Don't tell me I scared him away. It's possible. Almost all the girls in the country are your fans. Maybe Ningxi is too. Maybe she was frightened by seeing her idol." Guo Qisheng laughed. While they were talking, Ningxi came over. In a short time, Ningxi's expression was impeccable. She smiled and reached out to the person opposite her. "Hello, Senior Jiang. I'm Ningxi. It's an honor to work with you." Although Ningxi and Jiang Mui were the same age, Jiang Mui had entered the industry earlier than her. He was her senior, so she should be more respectful to him. "Hello." Jiang Mui smiled and reached out to shake her hand gently. But the next second, he almost threw her hand away. This wretched lass was about to crush his bones into pieces. Jiang Mui forced himself to maintain a handsome expression and suddenly pretended to be enlightened. "Ah, Ningxi, it's you, what? You know each other?" Guo Qisheng was surprised. Not only the director, but everyone in the crew was also looking at Jiang Mui. Jiang Mui smiled meaningfully. Of course. Hearing his suggestive tone and seeing everyone staring at her with strange eyes, Ningxi was so angry that her hands began to tremble. She almost couldn't restrain the primitive force in her body to beat him up. Seeing that Ningxi's face had turned pale, Jiang Mui finally said slowly, "We worked together when we were filming Blue Bird." "Oh, why didn't Ningxi mention it?" Guo Qisheng was surprised. Ningxi felt as if she had just escaped from death. Her back was wet with sweat. She replied modestly, "Director Guo, I was just a stunt double for the female lead. It's good that Senior Jiang still remembers me." Guo Qisheng was amused. "Oh, I didn't expect you two to have such a fate. That's great. Since you've worked together before and know each other, there shouldn't be too much practice. Let's have an intense scene today, shall we?" Ningxi, an intense scene? An intense scene? Director, no way. They weren't familiar with each other. Jiang Mui smiled happily. Okay. Ningxi really wanted to reach out and pull out those evil little canine teeth. Chapter 71. Don't worry, let me see which scene to choose. Guo Qisheng flipped through the script excitedly. Ningxi thought to herself, "Director, let's choose the 46th scene. If I play this scene now, I'm sure I can do it very well." That scene was about Sun Huanqing saving a girl in the military camp and then being seduced by that girl. Meng Chang'e was hot-tempered and thought that Sun Huanqing was cheating on her, so he beat him up. Jiang Mui seemed to know what she was thinking. He bent down slightly and whispered in her ear, "Honey, do you want to play the scene where you beat me up?" Ningxi flashed a meter away as if she got an electric shock. "Bastard, stay away from me." Thanks to this guy, her hatred was so strong that even 10 oxen couldn't take it away from her. She could already imagine what kind of storm Jiao Qingqing and Ning Xueluo, especially Jiao Qingqing, would use to greet her. Life was already hard enough. This was like adding snow to snow. Ningxi was destined to be disappointed. The director wouldn't arrange the scene where she beat Jiang Mui on the first day. After thinking for a while, she said, "Let's choose the 37th scene." Ningxi had already memorized the script. She recalled the plot of the 37th scene and her face darkened. Although it was not a sex scene or a kissing scene, it was not much better. It was a scene where Meng Chang'e flirted with Sun Huanqing. The director called the two of them over and began to explain the scene to them. The Meng family has been a general for generations and has accumulated outstanding military achievements. Their achievements are so great that the general's mansion is in danger. The current emperor is mediocre and foolish and listens to slander, which leads to the death of Meng Changa's father. Fortunately, Meng Changfeng, Meng Changa's eldest brother, has taken over his father's position, so that Changa can still live a carefree life. He is a little devil in Chang'an City all day long. When the director mentioned the little devil, Jiang Mui glanced at Ning Shi with a smile and said, "He's quite like you." Ning Shi ignored him and continued to listen to the play. This little devil always dresses up as a man and doesn't look like a girl at all. When she was 16 years old, she saw Sun Huanqing on the street and fell in love with him at first sight. Since then, she has been pestering him every day. Jiang Mui raised his hand and said, "Director, isn't this a female version of a bully trying to snatch a white flower?" Ning Shi, "You're the bully." Guo Qisheng coughed lightly and praised, "Mu Yi, you understand very well. That's pretty much what I mean. So what I want to say is that in the past, the characters you've played have always been more aggressive and proactive, but this time, it's the complete opposite, so you must pay attention to the change." Hearing this, Ning Shi was a little worried. This guy used to play the role of a domineering president, a domineering senior, a domineering prince, and so on. Could he handle a weak doctor like Meng Changa? Jiang Mui nodded solemnly to show that he understood. "Got it, director. I'm the weak one." Guo Qisheng looked at them worriedly. In fact, compared with Jiang Mui, he was more worried about Ning Shi. He was worried that a woman like Ning Shi would not be able to play the role of a street bully like Meng Changa. The reason why I chose this scene is that it can best reflect the feelings between the two of you. In the play, most of the time, one of you is cynical and the other is gentle and tolerant. If you can act this scene well, basically, there won't be a big problem in the following scenes. Well, that's all. Everything will be tested in practice. You two go to put on makeup and change your costumes. Chapter 72. Ning Shi was the first one to come out. She was dressed neatly in red and white. Her hair was tied up in a high ponytail, and her eyebrows were thick and black, which made her look very handsome. She looked exactly like the 16-year-old Meng Changa that she was going to play. Even those who had been rejecting Ning Shi had to admit that her image was flawless. Guo Qisheng had been worried that Ning Shi, who was too beautiful, would have a single acting style, but he didn't expect her to be so flexible. He praised her with satisfaction and then said worriedly, "Ning Shi, you must relax later. Don't be an idol, okay? You have to be as hooligan as possible in this scene. Don't worry, director. I believe she can do it." At this time, Jiang Mui also came out of the dressing room. The moment Jiang Mui lifted the curtain and walked out, everyone gasped. Even Ning Shi raised her eyebrows in surprise. After the makeup, Jiang Mui's temperament changed completely. He was wearing a cyan bamboo gown, and his face was as smooth as jade. His eyebrows were gentle, as if he had walked out of an ancient painting. Jiang Mui glanced at Ning Shi proudly and said in a low voice, "What do you think? Don't you think I'm so handsome in this dress?" Unfortunately, it was ruined as soon as she opened her mouth. Ning Shi maintained a humble expression as if she was talking to Jiang Mui about the plot. She spat out 3 words, very weak. What about me? I'm sorry to tell you that you were suppressed by me the whole time in the play." "Really? Why do I remember that I was the one who counterattacked in one scene? It seems to be a bed scene." Not far away, Jiao Qingqing saw the two of them whispering to each other from time to time. She was so jealous that she almost lost her mind. As soon as Jiang Mui came, all his attention was on Ning Shi. He didn't even look at her. She didn't even have a chance to say hello to him. Next to her, Ning Xueluo had been comforting her in a soft voice. "Qingqing, don't be angry. What's done is done. After all, in the entertainment circle, luck is also a part of strength. Ning Shi is really lucky to have Jiang Mui to act with her. I guess after this movie, she will at least become a B-list actress, maybe even a quasi-A-list actress." "Oh, quasi-A-list? She dared to snatch my things. Do you think I'll let her off easy?" Jiao Qingqing's originally beautiful face was now incomparably twisted and hideous. Qingqing, don't be too impulsive. The company is going to train Ningxi. If you fall out with her, I'm afraid. So what if we fall out? Do you think I'd be afraid of a vixen who only knows how to seduce men? Hearing that the company was going to cultivate Ningxi, Jiao Qingqing was even more furious. After all, she and Ningxi had similar acting styles. If the company promoted Ningxi, to a large extent, her resources would be divided. Looking at Jiao Qingqing, who was completely aroused, Ning Xueluo secretly smirked. With Jiao Qingqing as her blade, she didn't need to make a move at all. She only needed to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. However, Ningxi's luck seemed to be a little too good recently. He had to be on guard. Where's Lil Kui? Are the props ready? Guo Qisheng shouted. Coming. Director, what do you think of this? The prop master brought over a thick hemp rope. Okay. Guo Qisheng nodded and then said to Jiang Mui, I have to trouble you. Not at all. It's necessary. Jiang Mui had a very professional look on his face. He lay down on a large carved bed and let the prop master tie up his hands and feet. Yes, this scene was just as the director said, very intense. Meng Changa's confession to Sun Huanqing was rejected, so he directly tied him up and brought him to the mansion. Chapter 73. Seeing this scene, the girls on the scene began a new round of craziness. Mu Yi's binding pimp. I want to tie Mu Yi up and throw him on the bed even in my dreams. Why are you so excited? You're not the one who's going to do it later. I'm so angry. Why does it have to be that annoying vixen? Yeah, she's so annoying. Can't Mu Yi tell the director to replace her? She doesn't deserve Mu Yi at all. Ahem. Guo Qisheng coughed to signal everyone to be quiet. Then he clapped his hands and shouted, Okay, everyone get ready. 3, 2, 1, action. She was not affected by the discussion around her at all. As soon as the director's voice fell, the look in her eyes changed instantly. Clean, clear, and as energetic as the sun, this was the look of a 16-year-old girl. She also wore a lazy expression on her face. She lifted the hem of her clothes, lifted her foot, and kicked open the door of her room. Then the camera switched to Jiang Mui. The young man was lying on the red bed curtain with his hands and feet tied. The color made his face look even paler and weaker, which made people want to tease and ravage him. Hearing the door being kicked open, Sun Huanqing slowly opened his eyes and looked at the girl who was walking against the light in front of the bed. Meng Changa sat down on the edge of the bed and took out an oiled paper bag. Fuxing Restaurant's sugar-fried chestnuts. I queued for 2 hours to buy them. Do you want to eat them? Sun Huanqing turned her head away and closed her eyes, looking like she didn't want to talk to her at all. Meng Changa peeled one and threw it into her mouth with a sly smile. You don't want to eat them? Then I'm going to feed you. In a way that might make you shy. You. Sun Huanqing suddenly opened his eyes, which were filled with anger and shame. You're a girl. How can you be so shameless? Meng Changa squinted at him and raised her eyebrows. Shame? What's the use of shame? Can I go on the battlefield to kill enemies, or can I get a wife? Sun Huanqing's face was full of anger. The Meng family has been loyal for generations. Your ancestors fought on the battlefield for the country, but you are ignorant and incompetent, bullying men and taking women away. How can you face your ancestors? Meng Changa had long heard these words from the people around him. He picked his ears with his fingers, and with a chestnut in his mouth, he raised his voice and said, You are already so old, and you are still single. There are 3 ways to be unfilial, and having no children is the worst. How can you face the ancestors of the Sun family? Sun Huanqing was almost angered to death by her sophistry. With a stern expression, he said, These are 2 different matters. Moreover, this son's ambition does not lie here. Meng Changa stepped on the edge of the bed and lashed the whip in his hand on Sun Huanqing's body again and again. Finally, he pressed it against Sun Huanqing's chin with a sly and mischievous expression on his face. Dr. Sun, how about this? I'll be your wife. When I become your wife, I'll listen to everything you say in the future. If you want me to go east, I won't go west. If you want me to learn well, I'll listen to you obediently. Wouldn't this be worthy of our ancestors? Sun Huanqing was stunned, and a trace of panic appeared on his face. You, don't talk nonsense. Meng Chang'e seemed to have discovered a new continent. She leaned over, almost touching his face. Hey! Dr. Sun, you're blushing. Actually, you like me too, right? Why don't we just cook the rice? Cut. Until the director shouted cut, everyone was still unsatisfied. Why did he stop acting? Why did he stop acting? He wanted to continue watching. He wanted to see the rice cooked. Chapter 74. The actors on both sides performed very well, especially Ningxi's performance, which completely brought them into the play. Their rejection of Ningxi disappeared. At first, they didn't want Ningxi to touch their idol, but in the end, they were shouting for her to do it. They were as excited as if they were the ones doing it. Of course, when they came back to their senses, they still didn't like Ningxi. They all surrounded Jiang Mui, asking about his well-being and praising his excellent acting skills. Except for Zhao Qingqing, Zhao Xizhou was probably the most depressed one today. He had the highest status in the crew and was the most popular among the girls. When Jiang Mui came, everyone's attention was drawn to him, and he suddenly felt lonely. As for the happiest person, of course, it was the director. Today, Ningxi and Jiang Mui tried several scenes very smoothly. The two of them had a tacit understanding as if they had worked together 100 times. Today, for Ningxi, it could be described in a few words: a magnificent scene, a new lease of life after the disaster. When it was almost time to finish, Jiang Mui was surrounded by a group of people who wanted to treat him to dinner. Ningxi was packing up when her cell phone rang in her bag. She looked at the caller ID. It was Lu Jingli. Lu Jingli's number was forcibly saved into her cell phone a few days ago. Why was this guy calling her at this time? Ningxi looked suspicious and hurried to find a corner to answer the phone. Hello, Second Master? Hello. Xiao. Lu Jingli's voice was weak, as if he had been hollowed out. Ningxi was speechless. What's wrong with you? What's wrong? I want to ask you what's wrong with you. What did you do to my brother last night? Lu Jingli asked angrily. Ningxi was confused. What do you mean? What could I do to him? You didn't do anything to him. Then why was he so angry today? The meeting started at 8 o'clock in the morning. It has been 12 hours. Well, this is your company's business. I don't think it has anything to do with me. Maybe he had a lot of things to deal with before he went back to work. That's impossible. I've known my brother for so long. I know what he is thinking with just one look. It must have something to do with you. You are the one who hurt us. Now he's going to torture everyone in the company to death. Lu Jingli insisted that it was her fault. Ningxi felt wronged and said helplessly, I really didn't do anything. The only thing that could have happened last night was that she went to the airport to pick up Jiang Mui and ran into Lu Tingxiao when she was showering at his house. Could it be because of this? But his reaction afterwards was clearly very normal, wasn't it? I don't care. I don't care. It must be because of you. You're the one who caused this trouble, so you have to get rid of him. Otherwise, even if we become ghosts, we won't let you off. Just now, our finance department head fainted. His spirit must be on the way to find you. Ningxi, holy shit. What was going on? She had been shot even though she was lying down. What could she do now? What could she do to save them? Isn't this an international joke? Ningxi was worried sick when she received a multimedia message. Lu Jingli sent her 2 pictures. One was a picture of a man fainting and being carried away by an ambulance. The other was a picture of the entire conference room. Everyone sitting around the table looked terrified as if they were about to be interrogated by the queen. The great devil Lu sitting at the head of the table was like the king of hell who was judging them. Even through the pictures, Ningxi seemed to feel a gust of cold air. Chapter 75. Lu Tingxiao was playing the final judgment. Why did she have to save him? Lu Jingli's phone call was simply inexplicable. Ningxi had originally decided to wash her hands of this matter, but for some reason, She felt a little guilty deep down in her heart. Damn it. Why did she feel guilty? She had already made up her mind not to care about it, but Lu Jingli sent another video over. In the video, Lu Tingxiao's eyes were as cold as a knife, which startled Ningxi. It took her a while to realize that he should be looking at Lu Jingli. Lu Jingli, I'll give you half an hour to make a new plan for me. Now, do it here. If you can't do it, go to the finance department and get your salary. Then the video screen went black. Ningxi, when the video screen went black, she seemed to see Lu Jingli's last cry for help. Even a layman like her knew that it was impossible to come up with a new proposal within half an hour. But she really didn't know how to save him. Ningxi's brain was working fast. The 36 stratagems of Sun Tzu's Art of War ran through her mind. Wait for the exhausted. Lu Jingli's ghost would kill her. Capture the ringleader first. Lu Tingxiao was the ringleader himself. Besiege Wei to save Zhao Zhao? How could Wei help her? Could it be a honey trap? Bah, at last, Ningxi patted her head. Got it. Luring the tiger away from the mountain, Ningxi took a deep breath, calmed herself down and dialed Lu Tingxiao's phone number, at the same time, at Lu Enterprises. In the conference room, the big screen was connected to Lu Tingxiao's mobile phone, playing a piece of internal information. All the senior executives were watching it attentively, because Lu Tingxiao was going to ask questions later. It was as scary as when the teacher asked questions in class when they were young. Just then, Lu Tingxiao's mobile phone suddenly rang. Lu Tingxiao didn't even look at it. He casually swiped to answer the call. In the next second, a woman's sweet and soft voice came out of the speaker of the phone. Hello, Lu Tingxiao, are you busy? What? In an instant, all the higher-ups were stunned. They were completely dumbfounded. What was going on? Is this the boss's private number? There was actually a woman fighting in, and her voice was so sweet, and she even called his name directly. However, what shocked them even more was yet to come. When Lu Tingxiao heard that voice, his entire aura changed imperceptibly. It was like a cool breeze from the mortal world blowing at the spider lilies by the bridge of helplessness. Lu Jingli, who was immersed in the impossible plan, burst into tears the moment he heard Ningxi's familiar voice. Sister-in-law, you're finally here. Sob sob sob. Lu Tingxiao paused for a moment before he unplugged the data cable and put the phone to his ear. His expression didn't change at all, and his tone was just as cold. What's the matter? On the other end of the phone, Ningxi wanted to give up as soon as she heard such a terrible voice. Finally, she forced herself to hold on and said in a soft and pleading tone, Well, will you come back tonight? We promised to accompany Xiaobao to eat hot pot today. Lu Tingxiao said coldly, he's busy. He might not come back. Chapter 76. After unplugging the cable, Lu Jingli couldn't hear what Ningxi was saying. He could only guess that she was calling Lu Tingxiao back. After hearing his brother's heartless reply, he immediately screamed in his heart, No. Why didn't even Ningxi help? Could it be that the heavens want me dead? Ningxi's voice became softer. But if I bring Xiaobao there alone, I'm not sure. What if something unexpected happens? Xiaobao would definitely want you to come along. Come back, please. Okay. Lu Tingxiao was silent for 3 seconds before he said, Okay, I'll be right back. Lu Jingli was stunned for a moment. Then, he felt like he was being bathed in light and was about to ascend to the heavens. Sister-in-law is mighty and domineering. I knew she could do it. He had thought that his brother was tough, but it turned out that he was just a little tsunder. After hanging up, Lu Tingxiao said, Meeting adjourned. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. They couldn't believe that they had escaped death just like that. Lu Jingli snorted proudly. Thank me, all of you. I was the one who called for your savior. You are all thanks to me. As soon as the meeting ended, Lu Jingli was surrounded. Second young master. Did we hear it wrong? A woman actually called Boss Lu. Who's the one who called? He actually called Boss Lu out of the meeting with just one phone call. That's right. Did Boss Lu have someone by his side? Which family's daughter was she? Second young master, tell us. Lu Jingli glared at them warily. What are you doing? All of you are asking me who I am and what my intentions are. You want to suck up to me? Impossible. My future sister-in-law's thigh can only be hugged by me alone. Don't even think about it. Everyone. Was it not enough for them to just hug their toes? In a corner of the studio, Ningxi hung up the phone with relief. It was finally done. There should be no problem now, right? It had nothing to do with her, but she was so selfless. Just as he was about to leave, his phone rang. It was Lu Jingli again. Second young master, what's wrong? Is that not enough? No, no, no. Little 1111, your honey trap is amazing. The crisis has been resolved perfectly. Ningxi's face darkened. What honey trap? I'm clearly using the tactic of luring the tiger away from the mountain, okay? Don't you have any culture? Damn. I understand. That's it, I'm hanging up. I'll treat you to a meal next time. Looking at the phone, Ningxi was speechless. What did this guy know? Ning Xiaoxi, why are you hiding here? Let's go eat. Jiang Mui came to find him. Ningxi hurriedly looked around nervously. After making sure that no one saw him looking for her, she relaxed and leaned against the big red pillar behind her tiredly. You guys go eat. I have something to do tonight, so I probably can't go. What? Jiang Mui's face changed immediately. This is my welcome party. I'm your CP. You're not coming? Ningxi pinched her eyebrows. I know. It's my fault, but I do have something important to do today. Can I treat you alone next time? Not good. Jiang Mui was not moved by her words at all. He looked her up and down with sharp eyes. What's so important? Who are you going to see tonight? Ningxi's voice sank. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with you. Jiang Mui's face instantly darkened. You're going to see Lu Tingxiao, aren't you? Chapter 77. Jiang Mui's interrogative tone made Ningxi frown uncomfortably. So what? So what if I'm not? Jiang Mui paced around angrily and stared at her. Ningxi, are you crazy? How dare you play with Lu Tingxiao? Aren't you afraid of playing with fire? I'm happy to play with fire. It's none of your business. Ningxi wasn't happy with Jiang Mui's tone. You. Jiang Mui almost went berserk. He punched the pillar behind her. Ningxi, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just reminding you out of kindness. Otherwise, you won't even know how you die. Do you know who Lu Tingxiao is? Do you think he's the same as those rich playboys you used to date? Ningxi rolled her eyes at him. Do you think I'm an idiot? Of course I know. You know, what about me? Did you see me sleeping with Lu Tingxiao? You. Jiang Mui gradually calmed down. In fact, he knew deep down that Ningxi wouldn't be stupid enough to do such a thing. Suppressing his anger, he took a deep breath and said, Then tell me, what's going on? Ningxi also felt it was childish to argue with Jiang Mui. She was too irritated by this guy today. She was so irritated that she almost lost her temper. So she calmed down and explained to him, I saved Xiaobao. Jiang Mui looked surprised. You saved Xiaobao? What happened to him? More than half a month ago, Xiaobao was taken to a bar by Lu Jingli. In order to avoid the noisy crowd, he accidentally hid in a warehouse and was locked up by the staff who didn't know. The corner of Jiang Mui's mouth twitched. Took Xiaobao to a bar. That sounds like what my unreliable second uncle would do. Then what? What does it have to do with you? I was going to audition for Under the Heavens, but Chang Li locked me up in that warehouse to stop me from going. Ningxi briefly explained what happened later. Jiang Mui listened to her patiently. Okay, I see. You met Lu Tingxiao because you saved Xiaobao. Then the Lu family should give you a sum of money as a token of gratitude. Then you go your separate ways. Why are you still in contact with Lu Tingxiao? She even stayed in his house. Ningxi omitted the part where Lu Tingxiao proposed to marry her. Because Xiaobao was shocked and I saved him, he is very dependent on me. So Lu Tingxiao asked me to stay in the Lu mansion before Xiaobao's mood stabilizes and to act as a tranquilizer for him at any time. Do you understand? Hearing this, Jiang Mui's angry expression finally faded away, but he was still a little disgusted. He muttered, Are you sure that's the only reason? There are so many women who want to marry into the Lu family. Now that you're in a favorable position, don't you have any improper thoughts about him? Ningxi raised her eyebrows and said gloomily, speaking of indecent thoughts, I do have indecent thoughts about Xiaobao. He's so cute that I want to take him home and make him my little lover. Jiang Mui glanced at her speechlessly, touched his forehead, and said, anyway, you'd better not have any improper thoughts. The rich and powerful are not what you think they are. Ningxi sneered. How do you know what a rich family looks like in my imagination? What she hated the most was the so-called upper-class circle. All of them were hypocritical and wore fake masks. She had finally left the Ning family. How could she jump into the fire pit again? Chapter 78. Jiang Mui heaved a sigh of relief when he saw Ningxi's disgusted expression. He knew Ningxi well. He knew she hated being tied down. To her, the Lu family's background was probably as scary as a flood or a fierce beast. Okay, you're done, now it's my turn to ask you, right? Ningxi crossed her arms and looked at him. Jiang Mui shrugged. What do you want to know? Lu Tingxiao only has one brother and no sisters, right? Where did you get a nephew? Ningxi asked. Jiang Mui lit a cigarette and said slowly, I'm not related to the Lu family by blood. My grandparents are friends with the Lu family. My mother died in a car accident when she was very young, so the Lu family adopted her. So according to seniority, I have to call Lu Tingxiao uncle. I see. Ningxi squinted at him. I'm quitting smoking. Don't seduce me. Why did you quit smoking? Jiang Mui frowned. Do I need a reason to quit a bad habit? I don't know who told me that people who quit drinking and smoking were idiots. Jiang Mui complained as he snuffed out the cigarette. I've told you everything I know. Is there anything else you want to ask? Of course, there is. Ningxi glared at him. Tell me the truth. Why did you take the role of Sun Huanqing? It's not just a supporting role. It's not a role you like at all. She was implying that he was deliberately messing with her. Jiang Mui looked innocent. What's wrong with me playing the supporting role? Who said I can't play the supporting role? What's wrong with me playing Sun Huanqing? I want to change my style and challenge myself. Can't I? Isn't it boring to always try the same style? Didn't I act pretty well today? You were so happy teasing me. Happy my ass. She would cry by tomorrow at the latest. All right, I'm going back. I promised Xiaobao that I would eat hot pot with him today. Ningxi glanced at the time on her phone. Jiang Mui looked unhappy. Is my uncle coming with us? Of course, we'll go together. I don't dare to bring Xiaobao out alone. If something happens, who will be responsible? Jiang Mui was furious when he heard that. You still know about it. Xiaobao was the lifeblood of the entire Lu family, especially the two elders. They loved him dearly. If anything were to happen to him, they might even bury him alive. Why do you have to pick up this hot potato? Ningxi was unhappy. What are you talking about? What hot potato? My Xiaobao is so cute. Jiang Mui sneered. I think you've been bewitched by someone's beauty. As soon as she opens her mouth to beg you, you forget everything. Ningxi rolled her eyes at him impatiently. Fine, fine. Don't be so long-winded. Would I dare to refuse the request of the great demon King Lu? If it were you, would you dare? Look at how scared you are. Are you that scared that I'll become your aunt? Auntie. Jiang Mui was so pained by the word auntie that he couldn't say anything else. Good boy. Ningxi patted his head. After taking advantage of him, she hopped away. Ningxi took her handbag and explained to the director and the others that she couldn't attend tonight. Then she left. Looking at the girl's back, Jiang Mui's face was covered with a thick layer of frost. Chapter 79. After work, Zhou Qingqing finally found a chance to please Jiang Mui. What was even more perfect was that Ningxi wasn't there. She approached Jiang Mui shyly and asked, Brother Mui, where are we going to eat? How about seafood at the Baichuan Hotel? My dad is a member there. We can go straight to the private room. Jiang Mui stretched lazily and said, Forget it, I'm too tired today. Jiao Qingqing panicked. Ah! But it's your first day on the set. You should have a meal. Jiang Mui's face darkened. Who said I have to eat on the first day? If you want to eat so much, go ahead. In fact, everyone knew that Jiang Mui had a bad temper in private. When he was in a good mood, he would be good-tempered. But when he was in a bad mood, then, and now, this little devil was obviously in a bad mood. Jiao Qingqing was stunned and her eyes turned red. I just think it's etiquette. Brother Mui, why did you say that? Damn it, who is your brother Mui? Jiang Mui was so annoyed that he was about to lose his temper. Guo Qisheng, who was next to him, saw that the situation was not good. He came to the rescue in time and said, let's do it another day. Mui is really tired today. We should have let him have a rest on the first day and familiarize himself with the environment. I didn't expect that he would shoot several scenes. Let's go back and rest early today. There's no hurry to have a meal together. All right then. Jiao Qingqing nodded reluctantly after finding a way out of this embarrassing situation. At the same time, she hated Ningxi again. It was all Ningxi's fault for occupying Big Brother Mu Yi for the whole day and making him so tired that he didn't even want to eat. Jiao Qingqing lowered her head and secretly flipped through several photos in her mobile phone album. She smiled maliciously. Ningxi, just wait and see. I'll make you pay. In the Lu mansion. Baby, I'm back. Ningxi's exhaustion was swept away as soon as she got home. Xiaobao ran to her as soon as he heard her voice, holding a glass of cold juice in his hand. Baby, you're so sweet. Love you. Ningxi brought it over and gulped it down. Then she said happily, come on, come on. Auntie will take you to change into cute clothes. We'll go out to eat hot pot later. Little Bun, who used to run to the attic whenever he heard that they were going out, obediently allowed Ningxi to lead him upstairs. In the bedroom, he let her try on the clothes for him one by one. This one is too plain, this one is too dark, this one is too boring. My God. Who bought these clothes for you? What kind of aesthetic sense was that? Needless to ask, it must be your father. Has he forgotten that you're only 5 and not 35? Ningxi complained as she rummaged through the drawer. Finally, she found something she was satisfied with from the bottom of the drawer. Wow. This is so cute. He was wearing a white short-sleeved shirt with a hood and 2 long rabbit ears hanging from the hood. He was paired with a pair of overalls with a big pocket on it, just like Doraemon. Looking at this style, it must be your second uncle who bought this for you. Your second uncle is quite reliable. Children should wear cute and lively clothes. Ningxi nodded with satisfaction and then asked, Baby, what do you think? Do you like this? If you don't like it, Auntie will find another one for you. Ningxi didn't forget to ask for Xiaobao's opinion, although Xiaobao always agreed with her every time. Sure enough, this time Little Bun nodded without hesitation. So Ningxi happily helped Little Bun put on the clothes. Chapter 80. After helping Little Bun change, Ningxi also went into her room to change. Coincidentally, she also had a dress very similar to Xiaobao's, so she immediately put it on and paired it with a pair of denim overalls. When Ningxi came out, Little Bun's eyes lit up at the sight of her. He looked at Ningxi and then at himself, his little face full of joy and satisfaction. He even reached out to touch the rabbit ears on her hat, obviously very happy to be wearing the same clothes as Aunt Xiaoxi. When they were ready, the sound of a car engine rang out at the door. Lu Tingxiao was back. The temperature outside was more than 30 degrees, but Lu Tingxiao walked into the living room with his slender legs and a cold and arrogant expression as if he had come from a glacier. When his gaze fell on the 2 people on the sofa who were wearing similar clothes as if they were mother and son, starting from his ice-cold eyes, his entire body seemed to melt like an ice glacier. Xiaobao was naturally very cute in this outfit. As for Ningxi, the cute rabbit ears and age-reducing overalls made her look even younger. Sitting side by side with Xiaobao, they looked more like siblings. Seeing Lu Tingxiao come back, Ningxi immediately stood up holding Xiaobao's hand. We're both ready. Can we go now? Lu Tingxiao nodded, his gaze lingering on the girl for a few seconds before he looked away. Let's go. After getting into the car, Ningxi asked excitedly. Hey, Lu Tingxiao, isn't Xiaobao's clothes cute? I only found this one after a long search. Cute, Lu Tingxiao answered, but he was looking at the girl in the rearview mirror. Ningxi said proudly, I knew it. I should buy more cute clothes for Xiaobao in the future. Okay. Lu Tingxiao hummed and then took out a black card from his pocket and handed it to her. What? What is this for? Ningxi blinked, looking puzzledly at the legendary unlimited overdraft black card that she had only seen on the internet. Lu Tingxiao said, buy it. Ningxi said, she didn't mean that, okay? Why did she throw money at him without saying anything? Forget it. Since she had already given him the money, she would buy some nice clothes for Xiaobao later. When they arrived, Lu Tingxiao got out of the car first and then opened the door for them like a gentleman. He looked at Ningxi and asked, can you? After getting along with him for a long time, Ningxi had gradually gotten used to Lu Tingxiao's simple way of speaking. She knew that he was asking if it was okay for her to appear in public like this. Ningxi scratched her head. Are you all right? Not many people know me now, and I'm dressed like this. After saying that, he took out a pair of round amber-colored glasses without lenses from his bag and put them on. This is good. Yeah. Lu Tingxiao nodded. The three of them walked towards the hot pot restaurant together. Ningxi's estimation of herself was quite accurate. No one recognized her. However, she forgot about Little Bun and Lu Tingxiao. The father and son were simply too eye-catching, especially when they stood together. It was simply murderous. Actually, Ningxi was also very eye-catching today because of her matching outfit with Little Bun. Ah, look at the father and son over there. They're too good-looking. The older one is handsome, and the younger one is cute. The big sister next to her is also so beautiful. This whole family was so good-looking. Did Daddy bring the siblings out? Where's Mom? Hearing this, Lu Tingxiao's face darkened. Fortunately, the man next to the woman said, what do you mean Daddy bringing the siblings? They're a family of 3, okay? That girl is obviously the man's wife, the child's mother. No way. That girl looks very young. What do you know? They're just husband and wife. The man's looking at the girl is different from the way he looks at her, okay? It's obviously the way he looks at his wife. Chapter 81. Ningxi's heart pounded when she heard the discussion at the table. Big brother, let's talk this out. How did you notice that Lu Tingxiao looked at me differently? The way he looked at his wife. Hihi, that big brother might not have good eyesight. Ningxi coughed dryly and said to Lu Tingxiao. As soon as Ningxi finished speaking, the woman nodded in agreement. You're right, it's true. And if you look closely, although that little boy looks very much like his father, his eyes are actually very similar to his mother's, especially when he smiles. Ningxi almost broke down when she heard that. Cough, that big sister might not have good eyesight either. How could Little Bun look like her? She wasn't Little Bun's mother. Lu Tingxiao looked at the girl's eyes without batting an eyelid. Actually, they did look a little alike. Previously, he had noticed that when Xiaobao smiled, the expression between his brows was quite similar to Ningxi's. If it was a coincidence, then it was really a delightful fate. This little episode passed quickly. After sitting down, Ningxi sighed comfortably. Ah. Eating hot pot with air conditioning on a hot summer day is the most enjoyable. Little Bun, I swear, you'll definitely fall in love with this feeling. This was the first time in 2 years that Little Bun ate outside, so she was a little curious about everything. She looked here and there, but her little hand always held Ningxi's hand to feel at ease. Ningxi flipped through the menu and asked for Lu Tingxiao's opinion. You can't eat spicy food. Then let's order a Mandarin duck hot pot. You decide. Lu Tingxiao nodded, took off his jacket, and casually placed his arm on the chair. It was a very ordinary action, but when he did it, his hormones were bursting. Ningxi couldn't help but feel like her little deer was bouncing around. She didn't know what was going on recently, but it seemed like this was happening more and more often. Her little deer was about to faint. Was Lu Tingxiao doing this on purpose or not? Soon, the hot pot base and dishes they ordered were served. Ningxi's fingers were instantly moved, and she threw everything to the back of her mind. The great demon King Lu was so meticulous even when he was eating hot pot. Every dish, which one was put down first and which one was put down last, and how long each dish should be put down was calculated very precisely. Throughout the entire process, he was serving her and little Bun in an orderly manner. He was even more professional than the last time he ate at her house. She had never eaten hot pot with such ease. She only needed to eat, and every dish was scalded just right. Unlike her, she always accidentally overcooked the dishes if they were too raw. "Are you in the same crew as Mu Yi?" Lu Tingxiao suddenly asked as they ate. She was stunned for a moment before she realized that Jiang Mui was a handsome young man of golden era. He was also Lu Tingxiao's nephew, so it was not surprising that Lu Tingxiao knew about his recent situation. She nodded and said, "Yes, he joined the crew today. I just found out about it today. I was shocked when I saw him." Lu Tingxiao picked up a fishball for her and said casually, "Are you close?" She scratched her head. She felt that there was nothing to hide, so she answered directly, "Well, my relationship with him is a bit complicated. We dated for a while, but we broke up a long time ago. Now, we are friends, I guess, but I guess our friendship will end soon. This guy has been making enemies for me ever since he came back to China. He almost killed me. If he bullies you in the future, tell me," Lu Tingxiao said. She laughed. "Haha, no. I'm the one who bullies him in the play. As for outside the play, humph, if he dares to bully me, I'll be his aunt and beat him to death with seniority." As soon as she said that, Ningxi and Lu Tingxiao were both stunned. Ningxi wished she could knock her head on the ground. How could she not control this messy, seductive mouth of her seductive mouth? Chapter 82. She tried her best to put food in his bowl. "Haha, I'm just kidding. Don't mind me." Lu Tingxiao didn't seem to be angry at all. Instead, he seemed to be in a good mood. He smiled and said, "Good idea." She was dumbfounded. He actually thought it was a good idea. "Ningxi." Lu Tingxiao suddenly looked at her seriously. She was nervous under his deep gaze. What's wrong? If you change your mind, you can come to me at any time," Lu Tingxiao said. Ningxi's heart skipped a beat. She knew he was referring to the matter of marrying him. Although Lu Tingxiao didn't mention it again after his explicit refusal last time, she could always feel that Lu Tingxiao's attitude towards her was different, and the atmosphere between them was getting more and more ambiguous. The worst thing was that her heart was gradually getting out of her control. Was it really like what Jiang Mui said? She was fascinated by beauty. After what happened 5 years ago, she thought she would never fall in love with anyone again. For a long time, she even had a big psychological problem. She was extremely repulsed and disgusted with men. Especially when she saw scumbags, she couldn't suppress the burning killing intent in her body and wanted to kill them to enforce justice on behalf of heaven. Although she had calmed down a lot in recent years, she still didn't like men, not to mention finding a man to marry. It was simply a fantasy for her. However, the man in front of her, who always had an expressionless face and a frightening aura, had unknowingly cracked open a crack in the thick shell of her heart. After eating hot pot, on the way home, Xiaobao was tired and fell asleep on the way. She held him in her arms and didn't want to let him go. Alas, it was terrible. The big Bun was enough to mess her up, and now there was the little Bun. She found that the more time she spent with him, the more she liked him. She even missed him after one day of not seeing him. If she didn't hug him today, she would always feel that something was missing. This was not a good sign. After arriving home, She carefully carried the little guy into the room. Lu Tingxiao leaned against the door frame and looked at her tenderly. "Sorry to trouble you these days." She tucked Xiaobao in, closed the door, and walked out. "It's no trouble. I like Xiaobao too." After hesitating for a moment, she put on a gratified expression and said with a smile, "Xiaobao's condition is getting better and better. It seems that I won't need to stay here anymore." Lu Tingxiao's face darkened. "You really want to leave?" She was forced to take a step back by his sharp gaze. I should have left after Xiaobao recovered. I feel bad for disturbing you for so long." "Lu Tingxiao, you're welcome. Ningxi had no choice but to look up at him with her clear eyes. But I will feel troubled. Lu Tingxiao frowned. Troubled? Yes. Ningxi took a deep breath and said, to be honest, I'm not a self-disciplined person. Staying here, I have to watch my behavior at all times. Lu Tingxiao, you don't have to pay attention. Ningxi touched her forehead and said helplessly, fine, even if you don't mind, I also need a private life. Occasionally, I will bring my friends over to play, and I need to relax after work. I will ride my bike, go to pubs, or go to nightclubs. If I meet a handsome guy, I will inevitably bring him back to spend the night. Enough. Lu Tingxiao's face became darker and darker, and he finally couldn't take it anymore and interrupted her. Chapter 83. Late at night, Ningxi was lying on the bed, her mind in a mess. Why the hell would she bring a handsome guy home? Every man who had tried to seduce her and ask her out for a night had been dragged into an alley and beaten up by her. Especially when she saw a married man with a ring mark on his finger, she wanted to beat him until he cried for his mother. As for sex life, sadly, the only time she had sex was that night 5 years ago. Maybe it was because of the trauma of the first time. She always felt disgusted by this kind of thing. Tonight, Lu Tingxiao was really angry with her. But she had no choice. She would bring it up sooner or later. It was better to leave before things got out of control. It was better to stay away from her than to have her ugliest side exposed in front of him one day. Then he would leave as soon as possible. The consequence of her restlessness was that she was haunted by all kinds of dreams in the middle of the night. In her hazy dreams, she could hear all sorts of noises whistling in her ears. Ningxi, why do you compete with me? Except for your bloodline, you are a good-for-nothing. How dare you ask that bastard? What do you want to do? Are you going to give birth to him and raise him? The child was born prematurely and died. I have disposed of the body. Ningxi, I tell you, from now on, I, Ning Yaohua, don't have a daughter like you. You have nothing to do with our Ning family anymore. Xiaoxi, I'm sorry. Let's break up. I won't leave you alone. I will take care of you as my own sister. She ran desperately, trying to escape from these terrible voices. She ran to the top floor of the hospital. Downstairs was a bottomless abyss. The abyss seemed to have a magic power, tempting her to move forward step by step. Finally, she closed her eyes and jumped in. The moment she fell from the building, she didn't wake up as usual. Instead, she fell into another charming dream. This time it was not a nightmare. It seemed to be a wet dream. She had had similar dreams before, but each time it was accompanied by great fear and helplessness. But this time seemed to be a little different. One after another, cold kisses landed on her forehead, her eyes, her nose, and her lips in an incomparably precious manner. She didn't feel disgusted and dirty like before. Instead, she felt as if she was the most precious and important treasure of the other party. Who was he? Oh, it hurt. Why did he bite her? Even though Lu Tingxiao tried his best to restrain himself, he still couldn't control himself and walked into her room. He knew that he shouldn't wake her up, but his actions were unconsciously tainted with violence. This woman was always able to drive him crazy easily. If I meet a handsome guy that I like, it's inevitable that I'll bring him back for the night. This sentence was like a rapidly colliding asteroid, shattering his rationality into dust. When his lips and tongue slid down to the girl's smooth neck, he could no longer control the swelling desire in his chest. He bit down fiercely, like a wild beast using the most primitive method to conquer its prey. The moment the smell of blood filled the air, he heard the girl's weak voice. Lu Tingxiao's back stiffened, and he felt as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over him. The man was still buried in her neck. The pain on her neck almost made Ningxi scream, but she could only endure it and awkwardly remind him, "Cough, that. I'm just asleep, not dead. You're making so much noise. I'll wake up." Originally, she wanted to pretend, but in the end, she really couldn't pretend anymore. It hurt so much. At this moment, Lu Tingxiao's deep eyes had already blended into one with the night sky. He slowly raised his head and locked his gaze on her. His fingers pinched her chin and gently caressed it. His voice was like a demon from hell. "Ian, I'm awake, so what?" The moment his words fell, he locked her hands and pressed them heavily on top of her head. Then he bent down and kissed her lips without hesitation. Chapter 84. Ning. She subconsciously wanted to break free, but her hands were imprisoned, and her legs were pressed down by the man's knees. She looked like she wanted to take whatever she wanted. What the fuck is going on? Was she still dreaming and hadn't woken up yet? When the air in Ningxi's chest became less and less and she was almost at her last breath, Lu Tingxiao finally let go of her lips temporarily and shifted his attention to her neck that had been bitten just now. His hot tongue moved back and forth on the wound, as if he was comforting her, but it was even more creepy. "Hey, Lu Tingxiao. Lu Tingxiao." Ningxi called out a few times, but the other party didn't respond and continued to work on her body. At this moment, the man didn't have his usual gentlemanly demeanor, nor did he have the gentleness she was familiar with. His sharp teeth slid from her neck to her collarbone and even lower. No. The dormant memories in her mind surged out, gradually engulfing her like a sticky swamp, causing her entire body to tremble. Just as Ningxi was in so much pain that she wanted to die, all her movements suddenly stopped, leaving a heavy and hard body on top of her like a mountain, motionless. The suffocating feeling of being in a deep swamp suddenly disappeared, leaving only a dazed heart. Lu Tingxiao? Ningxi tried to pat the man's shoulder, but there was no reaction. After waiting for more than 10 seconds, the other party still didn't move. Ningxi softened her movements and carefully flipped him to the side. With the moonlight outside the window, she saw the man lying there calmly with his eyes closed, like a sleeping king, as if that terrifying beast wasn't him at all. What the hell? What was going on? Could it be sleepwalking? Ningxi mumbled to herself. It seemed like this was the only explanation that made sense. But wasn't Lu Tingxiao's method of sleepwalking too original? In the middle of the night, he came to her room and bit her like a vampire, and he could still talk to her properly. Lu Tingxiao's breathing was steady and long, and he looked like he was asleep. Ningxi didn't dare to wake him up, afraid that he would go crazy again, but she couldn't rest assured leaving him like this. But it was the middle of the night, who could she look for? After thinking about it, she thought of someone. She picked up her phone and dialed Lu Jingli's number. "Hey, little 1111. Wow. You actually called me at this hour. What happened? What happened?" Lu Jingli's voice was very loud, almost shouting. Ningxi was worried that she would disturb him by calling him so late at night, but she heard Lu Jingli's excited voice on the other end of the phone. There was a lot of noise in the background. It seemed like he was having an all-nighter party. "Lu Jingli, let me ask you something." Ask. "Your brother, what's wrong with my brother? Is this guy a repeater? You have to repeat your words twice." Ningxi was speechless for a while, then asked anxiously, "Does your brother have the problem of sleepwalking?" Ningxi, who was on the phone, didn't notice that the man lying beside her stiffened imperceptibly after she asked this question. He had only come up with this idea on the spur of the moment. He had never thought that Ningxi would call Lu Jingli. What if Lu Jingli, that idiot, let it slip, then break his legs? Chapter 85. On the other end of the phone, Lu Jingli suddenly fell silent for a few seconds, making Ningxi even more anxious. She urged, "Second young master, is there a problem or not? If it was just sleepwalking, it shouldn't be a big problem. But if Lu Tingxiao had some other illness, she had to send him to the hospital immediately. It was scary to suddenly turn into a werewolf and fall asleep in the middle of the night." "Oh, I was just a little curious why you suddenly asked this. He does have this problem. How do you know my brother sleepwalks?" Lu Jingli answered on the other end of the phone. His voice didn't sound strange at all. Ningxi finally breathed a sigh of relief when she heard this. She pretended to be relaxed and laughed. "It's nothing. I just came down to drink water in the middle of the night when I was thirsty. I was scared when I saw him standing in the living room in a daze." "Really?" Lu Jingli's tone was quite playful. He then said seriously, "It's nothing. It's an old problem. Don't worry about him. Continue to let him do what he's doing now. Don't wake him up. He'll go back to his room later." "Ah!" Let him continue, and not wake him up. Then, okay, I got it. Worried that Lu Jingli would hear something strange, Ningxi quickly hung up the phone. She looked at Lu Tingxiao, who was lying next to her with a headache. Was she going to let him lie here like this without waking him up? What if he sleepwalked again? She was so worried. Because of this sudden change, the panic in Ningxi's heart that almost made her collapse had completely disappeared. She looked at the unconscious man next to her, and the more she looked, the angrier she became. Finally, she reached out and pinched his face to vent her anger. Bastard, you slept so comfortably. I was almost scared to death by you. Lu Tingxiao, who had gone crazy, was quite obedient and looked harmless. She pinched him a few times before she stopped. Now it seemed that she could only wait for him to leave. She heard that if a sleepwalker was woken up, he would be greatly frightened and might even die. She was obviously the one who was more frightened. Ningxi was going to sleep after Lu Tingxiao left, but she didn't expect to hear a rhythmic heartbeat in her ears. She fell asleep unknowingly. After a long time, the man beside her slowly opened his ink-black eyes, revealing an expression of relief. Then, he looked at the girl absent-mindedly, his fingers gently touching her slightly furrowed brows, a complicated expression on his face. The next morning, Ningxi was woken up by a phone call. His first reaction wasn't to answer the phone but to turn his head to the side. As expected, Lu Tingxiao was no longer around. Therefore, she groped for the phone in a daze and pressed the answer button. The next second, Chang Li's angry voice immediately came from the phone. Ningxi, you did a good job. I've already warned you to watch your words and actions. Don't bring shame to the company, but you did it. Now the whole company's face has been lost because of you. Ningxi immediately woke up. What happened? Chang Li snapped, go on Weibo and see for yourself. Ningxi climbed out of bed, quickly turned on the computer, and logged into her Weibo. Then, she realized that her Weibo had exploded. Under normal circumstances, most artists' Weibo was managed by their agencies. Of course, Ningxi didn't have that kind of treatment. She didn't buy any fans, nor did she do anything. She only had over 30,000 fans on Weibo, which was even lower than an internet celebrity. Usually, she liked to share some trivial things in her life, and every time, her comments and likes were less than 100. But now, there were suddenly tens of thousands of artisan comments popping up overnight. She browsed through these messages as fast as she could and finally figured out what had happened. Chapter 86. Ningxi was vilified very badly. In the middle of the night, a popular Weibo blogger posted a long post with the title, Scheming Bitch Ningxi, I've never seen such a shameless person in the history of her career. The post basically said that she slept with all the directors, hooked up with rich old men, and tricked them into giving her gifts. She took advantage of Jiang Mui on purpose during the filming. The post even said that she always left her room door open when she was on set, and anyone who wanted to sleep with her could just go in and sleep with her. It made her look like a slut with no bottom line. Jiang Mui's fans were furious. They protested that their idol had to act with such a woman and strongly demanded that the second female lead be replaced. The comments under Ningxi's latest post were simply unbearable. They were all insulting her, and everyone was shouting, Ningxi, get out of the entertainment circle. Did you see it clearly? Send me an apology statement to save the company's image. Chang Li ordered angrily. Ningxi sneered. Apology statement. Usually, when an artist signed with a company encountered such a situation, the agency would arrange a special public relations team to distance themselves as much as possible to reduce the impact. But Chang Li, she didn't want her to save the company's image. She wanted to completely vilify her, because if she apologized, she would admit everything in the post. Yes, I want to see it before 8 o'clock tonight. It's best if you record a video and show your sincerity, otherwise, you'll be kicked out of the crew. Even the company won't be able to protect you then. Chang Li threw down this threat and hung up the phone. After this call, Ningxi completely lost her sleepiness. She had already expected this situation, but she didn't expect them to come so soon. It seemed that Jiao Qingqing couldn't wait any longer. With Ning Xueluo adding fuel to the fire, she was pushed to the teeth of the storm in just one night. Very well, Come on. I was afraid that they wouldn't come. Ning she washed up and got out of bed. Then she took out her makeup and began to put on makeup. Half an hour later, she looked at her pale and pitiful face in the mirror and nodded with satisfaction. Just as she cleaned up the table, there was a knock on the door. Ning she got up to open the door and was stunned. It was Lu Tingxiao, the werewolf from last night. After what happened last night, she felt a little weird to see him again. Before Ning she could speak, when Lu Tingxiao saw her extremely pale and haggard face, his expression immediately became extremely cold. Without saying a word, he picked up his phone and began to search for contacts. Ning she caught a glimpse of his finger pausing on the name Liang Feixing. Liang Feixing, the public relations director of Shengshe Entertainment, had a pair of hands that could turn the tide. He had solved the scandals of artists perfectly many times and restored their images. He could be regarded as a textbook example of public relations practitioners. Ning she of her mind immediately and grabbed Lu Tingxiao's phone. Lu Tingxiao, what are you doing? Take care of those things. Lu Tingxiao's expression was unusually ugly. It was obvious that he already knew what had happened on the internet. Ning she looked helplessly at the enemy's boss who was going to cheat on her without saying a word. If Shengshe suddenly, she set up, she would and she would be of Liang. Of Xing would be, would. And Yang would of the company would. Would. She of Shengshe in up. And Sheng up the companies, Ning, and Yin Yang would Chang, and of the company of Ming. She. Chapter 87. Ning she said in a relaxed tone, if I can't stand this, how can I continue to work in the entertainment circle? Didn't you say you trusted me last time? But you don't look convincing now. Lu Tingxiao looked serious. Ning she was confused. Then she remembered her makeup and explained, I put on my pale face and dark circles just now. I'm not pretending to be strong. If you don't believe me, do you want me to remove my makeup for you? Before she finished, Lu Tingxiao suddenly reached out and touched her cheeks and eyes with his fingertips. It was just a light touch, but Ning she couldn't help shivering as if she had been electrocuted. Lu Tingxiao's face darkened at Ning she's reaction. He quickly withdrew his hand. Don't force yourself. Ning she smiled. No, I won't. If I can't handle it, I'll definitely come back to you. Lu Tingxiao's face softened. Okay. Then Ning she scratched her head and looked at him, as if she wanted to say something but stopped on second thought. What do you want to say? Lu Tingxiao asked in a gentle tone, totally different from last night. Ning she looked at him with a complicated expression for a long time and finally couldn't help saying, well, Lu Tingxiao, have you ever thought about finding a woman to keep you company? What do you mean? Lu Tingxiao's face instantly turned cold. Don't blame me for being nosy. I just think. Ning she tried to choose her words carefully and then patted him on the shoulder. I think you may need a woman. It's not good for your health to endure it. There was a saying that what you think about in the day, you dream about at night. Lu Tingxiao didn't seem to be interested in women, but from his performance last night, it was clear that he needed a woman. This time Lu Tingxiao's face was completely dark. Damned woman, who do you think did this to me? Who do you think made me endure so miserably when I was already at the edge of my mouth? Seeing Lu Tingxiao's face getting darker and darker, Ning she coughed and hurried away. I'm running out of time. I'm going to say goodbye to Xiaobao and then go to the set. Bye-bye Tilda in the suburb of the studio. As soon as Ning she appeared, a group of Jiang Mui's fans who had been waiting for a long time rushed towards her excitedly. Ning she is here. That bitch is here. How dare she come here? Disgusting bitch. Do not come near our Muyi. Get out of the cast. Ning she, get out of the cast. Ning she, get out of the entertainment circle. Get out. It was a mess. Only a few security guards were escorting Ning she inside, and the rest of the crew were watching the fun, pointing at her from time to time and laughing sarcastically. Those gazes were like knives cutting her inch by inch. Those malicious gazes were like ferocious snakes and beasts that wanted to tear her apart. Ning she couldn't help but think of a female star who had been very popular for a while, but in the end, she was forced to commit suicide by rumors. After she died, there were only 4 words on her suicide note: "Gossip is a fearful thing." Rotten eggs and vegetables were constantly thrown at them from the crowd. Someone even threw a stone at them, but it was skewed. Seeing that the stone was about to hit Ningxi's expression changed. She jumped up agilely and blocked the stone with her arms when it was only half a meter away from In the next second, the place where his arm was smashed immediately became drenched in blood. Chapter 88. When the excited fans saw this scene, they were all stunned. Even AY was scared silly. Ningxi's face was pale. She glanced at the fans coldly. "You can make trouble, but come at me. Don't hurt the innocent. You, stop being a hypocrite. That's right. Stop pretending to be a good person. You're a shameless vixen." Ningxi's gaze became even sharper. "Who decides whether I'm a good person or a bad person? A Weibo post without any evidence? Or a groundless rumor? Although you're young, I hope you can think before you do anything. Fans pay for their idols' actions. Everything you do represents your idols. Don't be ignorant when you're being used. Don't tarnish your idol's reputation." Ningxi knew that they wouldn't listen to anything she said, except for talking about the idols they cared about. "You don't have the right to lecture us. Actually, I think she's right. Who was the one who threw the stone? Step forward. Didn't we agree not to use violence and use eggs? That's right. Who was it? We're here for justice, not to tarnish Mu Yi's reputation." The rioting fans calmed down and Ningxi finally squeezed into the filming location. Seeing her, Guo Qisheng quickly called her into the lounge. "Ningxi, you're here. Come and sit down. Director, I'm sorry for causing trouble for the crew." Ningxi bowed deeply, looking guilty. Seeing her haggard appearance, Guo Qisheng comforted her. "You're not the one who caused trouble. Others may not understand you, but I do. The accusation that you have no acting skills is bullshit. As for, the accusation that you slept with someone in the crew, as the person involved, how can I not understand? I've seen this kind of thing many times. I know who's in the right and who's in the wrong." "Thank you, Director." She was really grateful that Guo Qisheng was still on her side at this time. "But this incident has affected you greatly. You look so haggard. Why don't I give you a few days off and let you rest?" Guo Qisheng suggested. Ningxi immediately said, "No need. Director, I want to continue filming. Because of me, the crew has already been greatly affected. If I drag down the progress of the crew, I really won't be able to absolve myself of the blame." Seeing her determined attitude, Guo Qisheng revealed a gratified expression. "Oh, all right. If you can't hold on, you must tell me." After coming out of the director's office, Ningxi was suddenly pulled to an empty corner by a huge force. The man looked anxious, and even the golden retriever looked a little listless. "Ningxi, is your hand all right? It's just a small injury. I've already taken care of it," Ningxi said nonchalantly. Jiang Mui looked irritated. "I was going to release a statement to explain to my fans, but Brother Ming changed my Weibo password and didn't allow me to log in. He said that if I came out now, it would be more harmful to you." Ningxi patted her chest and showed a grateful expression. "Fortunately, Brother Ming is smart." Jiang Mui's face was full of hurt. "Heartless woman, I did it to help you." Ningxi said helplessly, "If you really want to help me, I'll warn you in advance. Later, I'll pretend to be a little white flower. Cooperate with me and don't do anything stupid. Otherwise, don't blame me for breaking up with you." Jiang Mui picked his ears and pretended to be in disbelief. "What did you say you were going to pretend to be? Little white flower, is there a problem? Are you sure that a tyrant flower like you can complete such a difficult challenge? Get lost." Chapter 89. Coincidentally, most of Ningxi's scenes were with Zhou Qingqing. Sitting under the shade of a tree and studying the script, she suddenly heard a sarcastic voice. "Hey, isn't this our superstar? Ningxi, you're famous now, so popular that everyone knows you. Haha, I know what you've done. You're really shameless. How dare you come to the crew after such a thing happened?" Zhou Qingqing gloated. As long as Ningxi was kicked out of the crew, She could take her place and act with Brother Mui. Ningxi bit her lip and trembled. She kept silent with an embarrassed expression. Jiao Qingqing was even more complacent. She moved closer to Jiang Mui and said coyly, "Brother Mui, you'd better stay away from this kind of person. Otherwise, your reputation will be ruined by her. You're starting to lose fans because of her." As Jiao Qingqing moved closer, a pungent perfume smell wafted over. The blue veins on Jiang Mui's forehead bulged. He was about to lose his temper, but he remembered Ningxi's warning and took a deep breath. Seeing that Jiang Mui ignored her, Jiao Qingqing thought he was in a bad mood. She comforted him considerately, "Brother Mui, don't worry. Sooner or later, the crew can't bear the pressure and will replace Ningxi. You're very noisy." Jiang Mui used all his self-control to change all the curses into these 3 words. "I'm sorry, Brother Mui. I won't disturb your rest." Jiao Qingqing walked away, feeling wronged. She was dissatisfied with Jiang Mui's cold attitude, but she soon felt relieved. Anyway, she would have plenty of opportunities to spend time with Brother Mui when she got the supporting role. She couldn't suppress her excitement at the thought of those intimate scenes. Why did the director ask her to continue shooting with Ningxi today? What a waste of time. However, she liked the scene today. There was a scene where she slapped Ningxi in the face. Humph, she would teach her a lesson. "Director, I think it would be better if I slapped her in this scene. What do you think?" Jiao Qingqing, who never cared about shooting, rarely took the initiative to talk to the director about the scene. Guo Qisheng knew what she was thinking. He said seriously, "The main point is to borrow the angle. At most, the face will be scratched a little." "Got it." Jiao Qingqing agreed verbally, but she had no intention of listening at all. She had made up her mind to slap him for real, and she wanted to slap him a few more times to let this slut suffer a little more. Anyway, this was not the first time she had done something like this, and she had never failed. After all the departments were ready, the shooting began. In this scene, Meng Chang'e had just entered the palace. She had assumed the name of Nan Wu Meng and was just a lowly palace maid. Because the emperor had taken an extra glance at her, concubine Liang was jealous and summoned her to the palace to make things difficult for her. "Shameless bitch, how dare you seduce His Majesty right under my nose?" concubine Liang said and slapped her hard. At the moment when Jiao Qingqing made her move, Ningxi narrowed her eyes and leaned slightly to one side, cleverly avoiding the camera and Jiao Qingqing's hand. But her body seemed to be hit by a huge force. She fell to the ground in embarrassment, then her face tilted and she spat out a mouthful of blood. Ningxi, Guo Qisheng was startled. The other onlookers were also frightened by this scene and surrounded her. "Jiao Qingqing, is this your first day of acting? You can't even control your own strength." Guo Qisheng was usually good-tempered, but this time he was really angry. He couldn't intervene in things outside the play, but if someone did such a dirty thing in his play, he would never tolerate it. Jiao Qingqing was also startled. She did deliberately use her strength, but it was absolutely not enough to make Ningxi fall to the ground and spit blood. Just now, she clearly felt that Ningxi dodged, and she didn't touch her at all. So she straightened her neck and cried in justice, "I just slapped her lightly, I didn't use any strength at all. She was pretending." Chapter 90. However, Jiao Qingqing had a bad reputation in the industry and had done this kind of thing many times. Besides, she had always been against Ningxi, so no one believed her. "Director, I'm fine. It's just a little cut in my mouth. I'll be fine after drinking some ice water. Maybe Sister Qingqing just wanted the effect to be better. Please don't be angry." Ningxi pretended to be aggrieved, but she tried to hold it in. Not only the director, but the others also felt sorry for her. Jiang Mui was watching from the side. The corner of his mouth twitched. He was almost shocked to death. This girl was really good at pretending to be innocent. Jiao Qingqing was furious when she saw her delicate look. "Ningxi, you're still pretending. You did it on purpose. You bit yourself. Did you hide a blood capsule in your mouth in advance?" "Jiao Qingqing, that's enough," Guo Qisheng shouted. Jiao Qingqing's assistant was afraid that things would get out of hand. She hurriedly stopped her. Sister Ching, let it go. Don't make the director angry. After all, we're also at fault. Obviously, she also thought that Ching did it on purpose. She had seen this kind of thing many times when she was with Ching. Ching gave her a backhand slap. Get out of my face. You don't have the right to order me around. The assistant fell to the ground like Ningxi, with blood at the corner of her mouth. The surrounding crew members, especially those who were not of high status like the assistant, all rushed to help her up. They looked at Ching with disgust. Although Ningxi's private life was messy, she never affected others and was very dedicated to her work. But Ching was simply a shrew. It was the first time that Ching had been wronged. Seeing that no one believed her, her face turned livid, as if she would faint the next second. Just when she was about to lose control and tear Ningxi apart, someone suddenly came up to her and held her wrist. Ching, I know you want to impress the director, but you don't have to be so serious. People who know you will say you're dedicated to your work, but what will people who don't know you think? It was Ning Xueluo who had just arrived. Ning Xueluo didn't have any scenes today. She didn't need to come, but she still came to see Ningxi being unlucky. She didn't expect to see such a scene. What was Ching doing? How did she beat such a good deck of cards? Seeing that everyone was about to sympathize with Ningxi because of their extreme hatred for Ching, Ning Xueluo immediately stepped forward to help. When Ching saw Ning Xueluo, it was as if she had seen a relative. She immediately pulled her away and cried, "Sister Xueluo, this slut slandered me." Ning Xueluo was afraid that she would spout nonsense again, so she dragged her to a corner. "Why are you so impatient? Ningxi will be driven away sooner or later. Why are you provoking her now?" Ching said angrily, "At first, I decided to teach her a lesson, but before I could even touch her, she dodged by herself. She even deliberately acted as though she was beaten by me to the point of vomiting blood." Ning Xueluo looked at Ningxi, who was being comforted by the director, and immediately saw through her trick. She hurriedly tried to salvage the situation. Ching, it's useless for me to believe you. The problem is that no one believes you. You can't explain the current situation. The best way is to apologize to Ningxi immediately. When Ching heard that, she exploded. "What? Let me apologize. I won't go. Sister Xueluo, how can you stand on her side and speak for her?" Chapter 91. Ning Xueluo was furious. "Don't you see that everyone is starting to sympathize with her because of this? Do you want her to make a comeback so that she can continue to act with your brother Mui?" Ching hesitated for a while, but still refused to give in. "Anyway, I won't go. I'd rather die than apologize to that bitch. How could such a small thing cause any impact? She could just buy some small gifts to send these people away." Ning Xueluo could only give up when she realized that she couldn't persuade her. She hoped that she wouldn't make any more mistakes. Ningxi's reputation had been ruined. No matter how scheming she was, she could only play these little tricks. What else could she do? It wouldn't be long before the unidentified sugar daddy behind Ningxi dumped her. Who would want a lover who had a bad reputation and made a cuckold of herself? Thinking of this, Ning Xueluo felt a little relieved. Guo Chisheng thought for a while and didn't ask them to reshoot the last scene to avoid any conflict. He directly used the scene where Ningxi was beaten and vomited blood. The second scene today was Meng Chang'e being concubine. Concubine Liang lost favor and was banished to the Cold Palace. Meng Chang'e went to the Cold Palace to visit concubine Liang and told her her true identity. Fortunately, this scene was relatively safe. There were only expressions and dialogue. There was no action. 3, 2, 1 action. The shooting began. In the Cold Palace, Concubine De sat on a wide chair and looked at the woman who fell at her feet as if she was looking at a dying person. Concubine Liang, do you know why I hate you so much? Why do I have to kill you? Bitch. You are jealous of me. Jealous that the emperor likes me. Jealous that I am favored. Concubine De burst into laughter as if she had heard a big joke. I am jealous of you. Jealous that you are favored by that old man. Concubine De. You. Are you crazy? I will tell the emperor. I will tell the emperor that you insulted. Concubine De suddenly shot a gloomy look at Concubine Liang and forced her to shut up. Then she said word by word, Concubine Liang, do you know who I am? Do you still remember the name? Meng Chang'e? You. Jiao Qingqing stuttered for a long time. Guo Qisheng shouted, cut. Again. The second take began. Concubine Liang, do you know who I am? Do you still remember the name? Meng Chang'e? This time, Ningxi's eyes were sharper than the last time. She clutched the man's neck like a gallows. You are, stop. Again. The third take began. Concubine Liang, do you know who I am? Do you still remember the name? Meng Chang'e? Ningxi's emotions became more and more intense. This time, she said this line in a murderous tone. Even the onlookers could feel her endless anger and resentment. You are Meng Chang'e? How could you be? Jiao Qingqing was like a jammed radio, forgetting her lines again. Cut. This time, Guo Qisheng finally lost his patience. He threw the script and flew into a rage. Jiao Qingqing, what's wrong with you? You can't even memorize such a simple line. Do you even read the script? Guo Qisheng couldn't be blamed for being angry. It was rare for Ningxi to be in such a good mood this time, which made him very excited. It could have been a perfect scene, but it was ruined by Jiao Qingqing's idiotic mistake. Chapter 92. All the onlookers looked at this scene with disdain. Is Jiao Qingqing an idiot? Over and over again, it's just this one sentence, and I've already memorized it. Are you Meng Chang'e? How could you be Meng Chang'e? Meng Chang'e is dead. Is it difficult to recite that sentence? That post also said that Ningxi's acting was bad. He should have seen Jiao Qingqing and then he would know what real bullshit is. Actually, Ningxi's acting is very good. Haven't you noticed that she has finished all her scenes in one take? Even if she ings, it was because of other people's mistakes. That seems to be true. I thought it was because of her acting, but yesterday she was also very good when she played the young Meng Chang'e. Although she was flirting with Jiang Mui, I don't know why it didn't make me feel that she was a pervert. Instead, I was excited. Yes, I was so excited when I saw it yesterday. If it were someone else, I wouldn't have liked it. It seems that in my heart, Meng Chang'e is Ningxi. Ning Xueluo didn't expect that there would be a worse situation. She immediately scolded Jiao Qingqing hundreds of times in her heart, but still pretended to be concerned and walked over. Qingqing, what's wrong with you? Are you in a bad mood today? Jiao Qingqing was in a state of rage and said frantically, I don't know what's wrong with me. Whenever I look at Ningxi, I forget my lines. It's like I'm bewitched. How could this be? Ning Xueluo didn't quite believe Jiao Qingqing's words. She thought it was because Jiao Qingqing's acting was bad and she didn't work hard. But she still comforted her patiently. Take your time. Let me help you. Ning Xueluo accompanied her to go through the scene, and Jiao Qingqing smoothly said her lines. See, isn't it good? Ning Xueluo encouraged her. Jiao Qingqing immediately regained her confidence and ran to the director. Director, I'm ready. Guo Qisheng had barely calmed down at this moment. He relaxed a little and said, then let's begin. However, this time, Jiao Qingqing still forgot her lines. Unwilling to give up, she tried again and again. In the end, she got 28 ings in a row. It was just a simple scene, but the two of them kept shooting until night time. In the end, everyone in the crew complained. This was filming a movie, not a TV series. They had to use film, and there were so many ings. It took a lot of manpower and a lot of money to waste. On the 33rd NG, Jiao Qingqing stood there in a daze. Suddenly, she screamed like a madwoman and pounced towards Ningxi. Ningxi, you bitch, what did you do to me? Why can't I remember my lines? Why can't I remember my lines? It's you. It must be your doing. The assistant and the others quickly tried to pull her back, but they were all pushed away by her. Even Ning Xueluo was scratched by her claws when she tried to stop her. This time, everyone really hated her. He's really retarded. How can it be someone else's fault that he can't remember his lines? Could other people sneak into her head and steal her lines? You've caused so many people to work so late into the night, yet you don't feel guilty at all. Ningxi is also quite miserable. She provoked such a person. Don't you feel that what happened last night was very strange? As soon as Jiang Mui joined the crew, this kind of thing happened to Ningxi. If Ningxi is driven out of the crew, who will benefit the most? Do you still need to ask? At this point, everyone had a knowing expression on their faces. Chapter 93. In the end, everyone left on bad terms. Jiao Qingqing made a scene and was suspended by the director for 2 days so that she could calm down. Ningxi removed her makeup and was about to leave. Ning Xueluo walked in quietly with her arms crossed and a contemptuous look on her face. Ningxi, I didn't expect you to be so scheming. What? Am I scheming? Ningxi glanced at the scratches on Ning Xueluo's arm with a faint smile. Then she blinked and said innocently, Isn't it because you have a good taste and are good at choosing your teammates? You. Ning Xueluo gritted her teeth. She was so angry that her chest hurt. She didn't know that Jiao Qingqing could be so stupid. Ningxi was so black, but Jiao Qingqing managed to whitewash her. Now the crew began to change their opinion of Ningxi. Ningxi would definitely do something next. She had to think of a way to deal with it. She couldn't let Ningxi make a comeback. After a short confrontation with Ning Xueluo, Ningxi was walking out when her phone rang. She received a message. Dirty Demon King, I'll wait for you at the entrance of the alley. Ningxi replied cautiously, Let's go our separate ways. See you at home. I'll go to your house to find you. An hour later, in Platinum Palace number 6. As soon as Ningxi walked to the door, Jiang Mui immediately pulled her in. He craned his head and looked around like an underground gangster. Before, he didn't care about Ningxi's relationship with him at all. He even wanted everyone to know that they were close. But after this experience, he had to reconsider what he had done before. Ningxi put down her bag, kicked off her shoes, and sat on the sofa with her legs crossed. The first thing she did was to stretch out her hand and ask, Did you take the video? Jiang Mui looked at her with a speechless face. She didn't see him as a man at all, did she? Why was she always so casual in front of him? She acted like a hooligan, just like how she acted in the movie. Do you think I'm a stupid teammate? Of course I did. Jiang Mui handed the phone to her grumpily. He had guessed what she was going to do when she said she was going to pretend to be a little white flower. Of course, he had taken all the wonderful scenes in time. Ningxi took the phone and looked at the videos one by one. She nodded with satisfaction. Good. I'll add a drumstick for you. After saying that, she opened Weibo and used her main account to post a Weibo post. Of course, the content was not the apology that Chang Li had requested, but 4 words, the innocent are innocent. After that, she logged into her Smurf account and sent a private message to a gossip blogger who she knew belonged to Golden Era, revealing Jiao Qingqing's continuous ings to him. The two were indeed sworn enemies. Not long after Ningxi sent the private message, the blogger immediately posted the video with a very eye-catching caption, NG 33 times, the #1 pretty face in the entertainment circle will show you what shitty acting skills are. Jiang Mui glanced at her. Just this one. Not using the other videos. I worked so hard to secretly take photos. Ningxi buried her head in the comments. This is enough to get the ball rolling. We don't have to do it ourselves. Do you think you were the only one who took the video? By the way, why didn't you use that move on Jiao Qingqing earlier? If you had used it earlier, she would have been replaced. There wouldn't have been so much trouble. I had to put up with that woman for 2 days. Jiang Mui muttered discontentedly. No one on the scene understood why Jiao Qingqing kept taking ings. Only Jiang Mui knew what was going on. Chapter 94. It was because Ningxi was deliberately suppressing the scene. Usually, only experienced actors could do this. They would deliberately show off their acting skills to oppress the other party psychologically, so that the other party would not be able to perform well and keep forgetting the lines. In serious cases, it could even cause a permanent psychological shadow to the other party. Very few people in the entertainment circle could do this. The most important thing was that this method was hard to be seen through, because it was hard to tell whether the other party was performing well or deliberately suppressing the scene. Therefore, this method could hurt the other party without leaving any trace. Ning, she rolled her eyes at him. Of course I can't use my ultimate skill. This method also needed a specific situation. For example, today's scene was very suitable for suppressing Jiao Qingqing. In addition, this method would seriously affect the shooting process, so she would never use it unless it was absolutely necessary. Jiang Mui couldn't help but recall some unpleasant memories. He curled his lips and said, "Then I'm really honored to be one of the few people whom you let go of your ultimate skill." He had also been suppressed by Ning Shi with this method, but he was not a piece of trash like Jiao Qingqing. Later, he got over it and his acting skills improved greatly. Jiang Mui suddenly stared at her with burning eyes. "Shall we have dinner together tonight? You promised to treat me to dinner alone. You also promised to play games with me some other day." Ning Shi was indeed in the wrong, so she could only sigh helplessly. Okay. I'll eat with you and play with you, okay? I'll text Lu Tingxiao and tell him." Jiang Mui's expression changed immediately. "You're just a temporary tranquilizer. Why didn't you go back home? What's your relationship with Lu Tingxiao? Although I sent the message to Lu Tingxiao, I sent it to Xiaobao, okay?" Ning, she didn't bother to answer him. She buried her head and typed a message. "Sweetheart, I'm busy tonight and may come back very late. Be a good boy and go to bed. When I'm free, I'll buy you cute clothes. Love you Tilda." Jiang Mui's eyes turned red with anger when he saw that message. "Why are you so gentle to Xiaobao? You were never so gentle when you were with me. And you always beat me." Ning, she squinted at him. "Who asked you to be beaten? Xiaobao is so cute. How can you compare with him?" Jiang Mui's beautiful eyes were burning. "Ning Shi, did you even like me back then? Did you get close to me just to?" Ning, she looked at him in surprise. "Nonsense, of course not. You. Jiang Mui pointed at her and couldn't say anything for a long time. Ning, she held her chin and looked at him with a smile. "What do you think? Are you satisfied with your anger? Do you still want to eat now?" Jiang Mui gritted his teeth. Eat. He could not fall into her trap. At the same time, in the Lu residence, Lu Jingli hugged a pillow and sat on the sofa. If he had a tail behind him, it would be wagging like crazy. Brother, tell me quickly. What happened last night?" Lu Tingxiao's face was still a little gloomy because of what Ning Shi had said in the morning. He wasn't in the mood to satisfy Lu Jingli's curiosity. Could it be that you couldn't control the raging fire of love in your heart? You lost control and ran to attack her at night. But you didn't control your strength and woke 1111 up. You were in a dilemma, so you simply pretended to be sleepwalking? Lu Jingli's imagination was really good. Lu Tingxiao looked up at him. This guy's cleverness was all in this kind of thing, wasn't it? Looking at his brother's expression, Lu Jingli knew he had guessed right. He immediately put on an expression as if he was about to fall in love with himself. "Oh my God, I'm so smart. Brother, am I your sweet little cotton-padded jacket?" Chapter 95. Seeing that Lu Jingli was begging for a reward, Lu Tingxiao said generously, "Let's change the holiday to 1 month." Lu Jingli was so excited that he almost jumped up and did a set of radio gymnastics on the spot. Then, he said with great regret, "Brother, as the saying goes, the first beat of the drum is the second beat of the drum, the third beat of the drum is exhausted. Why don't you take the opportunity to pounce on little 1111? What a pity." Lu Tingxiao glanced at him coldly. "What do you think the result will be?" "Well." Lu Jingli touched his chin and said thoughtfully, "You've been using Xiaobao as an excuse to make her so defenseless. If you let the cat out of the bag at this time, 1111 will probably jump out of the bag immediately." Lu Tingxiao, although this was the truth, when Lu Jingli said it out loud, it really put him in a bad mood. In fact, last night he did want to have her at all costs, but Ning Shi's unintentional reaction of extreme rejection and fear instantly woke him up. Later it turned out that what he did was right. Otherwise, Ningxi would really be scared away by him in that situation. Why did she react like that? What had she experienced? Brother, can I ask you a question? Why are your emotions fluctuating so much recently? Did something happen? Lu Jingli asked cautiously. In fact, this was a euphemism. In fact, he was as irritable and capricious as a woman on her period. Lu Tingxiao's slender fingers rhythmically tapped on the armrest of the chair and said quietly, "It was Jiang Mui who sent the flowers that day." "What did you say?" Lu Jingli was stunned for a long time before he realized what Lu Tingxiao said. Then he jumped up in anger. Damn, the dirty demon king is actually Jiang Mui. Didn't he just return to China the day before yesterday? I also heard that he was going to play the supporting role in the world. She didn't expect him to have such a relationship with little 1111. It seemed that the first film he took after returning to the country was this one. It was worth pondering. You know, he had a lot of intimate scenes with 1111 in the film. TSK. Let me think, has he seen 1111 recently? Did you see him? And you even saw some ambiguous scenes. Lu Jingli's guess was spot on. Oh my god, no wonder you've been acting weird lately. Lu Jingli stormed forward. I never thought there would be a traitor among us. What about YS? Did you find anything? Lu Tingxiao's eyes darkened. The person who delivered the diamond disappeared after leaving the set. The source of the diamond is unknown. It's very likely that it was smuggled through a special channel. The corner of Lu Jingli's mouth twitched. He was speechless. Another headache. It can't be someone related to the Lu family, right? YS. Is there anyone with these two letters in their initials? I don't think so. Sigh, his own brother's relationship was really full of twists and turns. Others were in a romantic idol drama, while he was in a mystery detective drama. At this time, Lu Tingxiao's cell phone rang. It was a text message from Ningxi. After reading the content, the dangerous creature lurking in the depths of Lu Tingxiao's eyes became restless. Lu Jingli leaned over curiously. Little 1111's text message. What did she say? Why did his brother look like he had been cuckolded? Lu Tingxiao stared at the text message for a few seconds and then made a call. Ningxi, who was in Villa number 6, quickly answered, "Hello, Lu Tingxiao, what's up? Did you see the text I just sent? Remember to show it to Xiaobao." "Yes, where are you?" Lu Tingxiao asked. Ningxi glanced at Jiang Mui, who was busy in the kitchen and claimed that he wanted to show off his cooking skills. "I'm at Jiang Mui's place. I have something to discuss with him. Besides, he has just returned to China. Let's have dinner together to welcome him." Chapter 96. Okay, got it. I'll be there later, Lu Tingxiao said calmly. Ningxi was stunned on the other end of the phone. "Ah, you're coming? What? Is there a problem?" Lu Tingxiao asked coldly. No. Lu Tingxiao said it so matter-of-factly that she couldn't refute him. Seeing that Ningxi was in a dilemma, Jiang Mui poked his head out and asked, "What's wrong? Who called?" "Your uncle. He said he's coming over later. What did you say?" The spoon in Jiang Mui's hand fell to the ground. Then he pointed at her and complained bitterly, "Ning Xiaoxi, you said there's nothing going on between you and him. Why did you call him over when we were having dinner together? Calm down. Don't get angry so easily, okay?" Ningxi rolled her eyes at him. "I didn't call him over. He asked me where I was just now. I told him that I was going to hold a dinner for you. Then he said he was coming over. Maybe as an elder, he felt that he should care about you, so he wanted to have dinner with you. That's quite logical." Jiang Mui threw the bowl on the ground. "Nonsense. Do you think Lu Tingxiao is that kind of approachable person? He even wants to have dinner with me. My mom sometimes has to wait half a year for him to have dinner with her. He's the epitome of inhumane." Ningxi threw a pillow at him impatiently. "You unlucky boy. Can't I suddenly care about you? Why do you always associate me with Lu Tingxiao? Why do we look like people who can be associated with each other?" Jiang Mui muttered to himself, It's a man's intuition. What do you know? While they were quarreling, the doorbell rang. Ningxi gave Jiang Mui a warning look, signaling him not to talk nonsense. Then she got up and went to open the door. As soon as she opened the door, Ningxi's eyes lit up with surprise because there was a little bun beside Lu Tingxiao. As soon as Xiaobao saw her, he opened his short little hands and threw himself at her. Ningxi's heart melted. She quickly picked him up. Baby, you're here too. Auntie was just sad that I couldn't have dinner with my baby tonight. In the room, Jiang Mui looked at Ningxi, who was holding Xiaobao, and then at Lu Tingxiao, who was gazing at them dotingly. He had an illusion that they were a family of three. He had never expected that Ningxi and Xiaobao's relationship was so harmonious. Xiaobao was an existence that was even more difficult to get close to than his father. As for Lu Tingxiao, his attitude towards Ningxi was even weirder. Even if it was for Xiaobao, with Lu Tingxiao's personality, it was impossible for him to tolerate a strange woman living under the same roof as him. Hey, don't forget about me. I'm still here. Lu Jingli squeezed in with 2 bottles of wine in his hands. Looking at the 3 people of the Lu family, Ningxi immediately gave Jiang Mui a look that said, "Look, they really came here to care about the younger generation. You're the only one who likes to think too much. First uncle, second uncle, Xiaobao is here too. Please come in." Even though Jiang Mui was unwilling, he could only invite the 3 of them in. Who asked him to be a junior? Chapter 97. After the 3 of them arrived, Jiang Mui had nothing to do. Lu Tingxiao invited a Michelin chef to cook for them, Lu Jingli brought 2 bottles of good wine from home, and Xiaobao occupied Ningxi. The 5 of them sat around the table in a weird atmosphere. Fortunately, Lu Jingli was there, so there was no awkward silence. Everyone ate and chatted casually. "Come on, let's welcome our superstar back home. A toast to you." "Thank you. By the way, I haven't had time to ask you. How did you meet 1111? Lu Jingli pretended to inadvertently inquire about the news for his brother. Hearing this question, Jiang Mui didn't look very happy. It seemed that he didn't want to talk about this topic. He answered vaguely, "I met her when I was studying abroad. We were schoolmates in the same year." Lu Jingli squinted at him and said meaningfully, "I don't think it's that simple. Don't tell me it's another ex-girlfriend that you dumped after you got her. After all, the women around you are either your mother or your fans, or your ex-girlfriend." Jiang Mui was speechless. Ningxi burst into laughter and gave Lu Jingli a thumbs up. "Second master, you are so insightful." "Oh, it seems that I guessed right," Lu Jingli said proudly. Sure enough, there was nothing in this world that he couldn't guess. "Only half of it," Jiang Mui retorted. What do you mean by only half?" Lu Jingli was puzzled. "Yes, she is my ex-girlfriend. But she chased me and dumped me," Jiang Mui said as he stared at Ningxi with resentful eyes. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Tingxiao, who was helping Ningxi and Xiaobao cut the steak, blinked his eyes imperceptibly. Even Lu Jingli was shocked. After all, this was the first time that he had made a mistake. So he put his hands on the table and said excitedly, "No way. Is this for real? This is not scientific." When Ningxi was abroad, she was not as ridiculous as Jiang Mui. So he always thought that it was Jiang Mui who proposed to break up with her. But he never expected that. Jiang Mui angrily poked a piece of pork rib. "If you don't believe me, you can ask her. Why did we have to talk about this again out of nowhere?" Ningxi said helplessly, "This was purely an accident." Lu Jingli had evolved from simply asking for information for his brother to being a gossipy person. He asked curiously, "What's going on? Quick, tell me. Hurry. Jiang Mui was speechless. As an elder, is it really good for you to be so nosy about the private matters of the younger generation? Seeing Jiang Mui's angry face, Ningxi didn't want to embarrass him in front of his elders, so she replied, "Nothing special. At that time, there were so many girls in our school who liked him, and I was just one of them. As for the reason why we broke up later, maybe I found that he was different from what I had imagined, so I was a little disillusioned." Ningxi's words seemed to be normal, But Lu Jingli knew that things couldn't be that simple. Otherwise, Jiang Mui's expression wouldn't be like that. TSK, I'll get Jiang Mui to drink more later and see if I can get some information out of him. Because Xiao Bao was here, she didn't drink tonight. She felt a little bored sitting at the table after eating, so she asked, Mr. Lu, can I take Xiao Bao to play a game? Lu Tingxiao nodded. Go ahead. His tone seemed to be the same as Xi's, but it gave people a feeling that he was gentler than others. Jiang Mui looked sad. That was clearly his game machine, the latest equipment that he had specially brought back. How could she ask another man for permission and take him to play? Even if that man was only 5 years old. Chapter 98. 2 hours later, Lu Jingli died gloriously. Before he passed out drunk, he still couldn't get a word out of Jiang Mui. In fact, Jiang Mui was already at his last gasp. He had been holding on until now because he knew that Lu Jingli wanted to get information out of him. He was really drunk to have such a gossipy uncle. He faintly felt that Lu Jingli seemed to have some other reasons for insisting on figuring out this matter. However, his brain was in a mess and he couldn't think of anything. Lu Tingxiao was the only one who was sober at the table. Lu Tingxiao called the butler to pick up Lu Jingli, and then he got up and walked to the living room. On the huge game screen was the word pass. Shi and Xiao Bao were lying on the sofa, sleeping soundly. Lu Tingxiao walked over with light steps. The girl was holding a white and soft little bun in her arms. Her sweet sleeping face made people want to give up all the fame and power and sleep with her until the end of time. In the restaurant, Jiang Mui saw Lu Tingxiao leaning toward Shi in a daze. Lu Tingxiao was getting closer and closer to her. Jiang Mui's pupils constricted and he woke up immediately. Lu Tingxiao almost couldn't help kissing the girl's sleeping face, but he stopped at the last moment. He turned to Xiao Bao and gently woke him up. Xiao Bao rubbed his sleepy eyes and a tuft of hair on his head. He looked even more adorable than usual after he just woke up. Lu Tingxiao rubbed his little head. Can you walk by yourself? Xiao Bao nodded. Lu Tingxiao looked satisfied. Then he bent over and gently picked up Shi, who was still sleeping. He looked down at Xiao Bao and said, let's go. Xiao Bao followed his papa obediently, not feeling anything wrong at all. Jiang Mui rubbed his eyes hard. He must be so drunk that he was hallucinating, right? He must be. Why was Lu Tingxiao behaving so mysteriously? He asked the butler to pick up his brother, woke up his sleeping son, but was careful not to wake up Shi and carried her back himself. Watching Lu Tingxiao leave with Shi in his arms and Xiao Bao, Jiang Mui was still in a daze. In the end, he fell on the table and finally passed out, in the Lu mansion. Xiao Bao wanted to sleep with Shi. Lu Tingxiao, men and women shouldn't touch each other. Little Bun stuck out 5 fingers, implying that he was only 5 years old. Lu Tingxiao nodded. Very good. You know you're not a 3-year-old anymore, but a 5-year-old adult. Now go back to sleep. Little Bun. Lu Tingxiao's face became serious. Do you still want to be Aunt Xiao's baby for the rest of your life? I can only keep her for 3 more months. If I can't marry her by then, she will leave you completely. Hearing this, Little Bao's expression finally changed. She pursed her lips, reluctantly looked at Shi, and finally walked away. Lu Tingxiao sighed softly. Although Xiao Bao was his greatest help, he was also his greatest obstacle. Fortunately, he had managed to convince him. Lu Tingxiao gently put Shi on the bed, took off her shoes, and called the maid to help her change clothes. In a daze, Shi felt that she had returned to the soft bed, and there was a vague figure in front of the bed. She reached out her hand sleepily and touched the familiar figure. Well, Lu Tingxiao, are you sleepwalking again? Lu Tingxiao was stunned for a moment, and then he covered her warm little hand with his big palm. Yes. Shi frowned and murmured, this is an illness. I have to cure it. Lu Tingxiao chuckled and kissed her palm. Only you can cure it. Chapter 99. Late at night, Shengsha Group's Public Relations Department. Liang Feixing's personal phone suddenly rang while he was busy dealing with Su Yimo's drunken driving scandal. He was about to throw it aside impatiently, but when he saw the caller ID, he was shocked and broke out in a cold sweat. He immediately sat up straight and picked up the call in a flurry. "Hello, Boss Lu, I'm sorry. We're dealing with it right now. It'll be resolved by tomorrow night at the latest." "What is it?" The man's cold and distant voice came from the other end. "Huh. It's about Su Yimo's drunken driving incident. You're not looking for me because of that." Liang Feixing was confused. Was the boss not calling him to denounce him? No. Liang Feixing breathed a sigh of relief. He was too busy. Boss Lu never interfered with Shengxi's affairs. Even if it involved Su Yimo, it was a big deal to them, but it wouldn't affect Lu Tingxiao at all. So, why was the boss looking for him at this time? Liang Feixing became even more uneasy. Then why are you looking for me? Make Jiao Qingqing leave the entertainment industry within 24 hours. Lu Tingxiao gave an order. Jiao Qingqing? Boss Lu, may I ask which Jiao Qingqing is it? Starlight Entertainment. Liang Feixing's face was filled with shock. Was it the Jiao Qingqing whose appearance was hyped up by Starlight Entertainment as the most beautiful woman in the entertainment industry? He had thought it was some big shot. Liang Feixing's face was filled with doubt, but he didn't dare to ask a single word. "Okay, Boss Lu, I understand. As far as I know, Jiao Qingqing has been arguing with a female artist from her company. The other party isn't easy to deal with. She has a lot of dirt on Jiao Qingqing and knows how to get someone else to do her dirty work. She handed it over to a big V. Jiao Qingqing has offended too many people. Now that she's down, it won't be easy for her to get away. But to force her to leave the entertainment industry, we'll need to add fuel to the fire. Do it secretly," Lu Tingxiao instructed. "Yes, don't worry, Boss Lu." After hanging up, Liang Feixing immediately handed everything over to the deputy director and took care of the matter himself. The task this time was too easy. It was like using a butcher's knife to kill a chicken. Currently, the artist who was fighting with Jiao Qingqing was 80% done. He just needed to give the final blow. He was just a second-rate artist. What did he do to make the big boss personally ban him? Liang Feixing could never guess that Lu Tingxiao's real purpose was not to ban Jiao Qingqing, but to support Ning Shi, an actress who was even less famous than Jiao Qingqing and whose name he couldn't even remember, the next morning. Ning Shi was confused when she woke up. Why was she lying in the Lu mansion? She clearly remembered that she played games with Xiaobao for 2 hours straight. In the end, she was so tired that she fell asleep on the sofa in Jiang Mui's living room. While he was still in a daze, he suddenly heard a bang from the window at the head of the bed. Ning Shi was startled and quickly got up to see what was going on. Then, as soon as he opened the window, he saw a golden head below. Ning Shi was speechless. "Jiang Mui, what are you doing?" Jiang Mui, who always paid attention to his image, was still wearing the same clothes from last night. Now it was wrinkled and his hair was messy. He said anxiously, "Ning Shi, come down. I have something to talk to you about. Hurry up." Ning Shi sighed with a headache. She knew it wouldn't be a good thing if this guy found out that she lived here. How dare he come to smash her window so early in the morning? Chapter 100. Just jump down, hurry up. Don't pretend to be a lady, Jiang Mui urged her anxiously. Ning Shi twitched the corner of her mouth speechlessly. She put her hand on the windowsill and jumped down. Jiang Mui immediately pulled her over and spun her around several times to see if there were any ambiguous marks on her body. Then he stared at her with burning eyes. "Did anything happen last night?" Ning Shi almost fainted. She said angrily, "Jiang Mui, why are you not sleeping so early in the morning?" "I was sleeping." "What could have happened to you?" The blue veins on Jiang Mui's forehead bulged. "Ning Shi, are you a pig? Don't tell me you don't know how you came back last night." "I really don't know," Ning Shi said innocently. Jiang Mui took a deep breath to calm himself down. He gritted his teeth and said, "You're so stupid. Why haven't you been sold? It was Lu Tingxiao who carried you back last night." Ning Shi was a little stunned and then said disapprovingly, So what? It must be that Xiaobao begged his dad to carry me back because he didn't want to wake me up. It was the same in the bar. Except for Lu Tingxiao, Xiaobao didn't allow anyone to touch her, so she didn't think it was a big deal. Jiang Mui was furious. Ningxi, can't you be more careful? Lu Tingxiao is obviously interested in you, okay? Ningxi let out a long sigh and then put her hands on Jiang Mui's shoulders. She said earnestly, brother, my journey is the sea of stars. I won't stop for any flowers or grass. So even if you kneel down and beg me to be your aunt, I won't give you this chance, okay? Please don't be paranoid. Go back and sleep. Jiang Mui had a complicated feeling when he heard this. He was relieved and stared at her with a complicated look. Are you really going to stay single for the rest of your life? What if you meet someone you like? Ning Xiaoxi, this idea is very dangerous, don't you know? Let me tell you, although career is also very important, for a woman, marriage is. Ning, she couldn't bear it anymore and kicked him. Jiang Mui, are you done? Are you picking on me? I think you haven't been beaten for a long time. You just beat him up the day before yesterday. I obviously didn't beat you enough last time. Today, I will beat you into submission. Let's see if you still dare to talk nonsense all day long. Ning, she rolled up her sleeves and was about to make a move. Jiang Mui covered his head and scurried away. Suddenly, he looked behind her and said, Uncle. Ning, she sneered, save? Even if you scream until your throat breaks, no one will come to save you. Before Ning Xi's devil claw fell, Jiang Mui shouted, no, it's my uncle. Ning Xi's back stiffened. She turned her head mechanically and saw Lu Tingxiao standing there in his sportswear against the light. His skin was dripping with sweat. It looked like he had just finished his morning jog. Ning Xi, who had been caught beating Jiang Mui's nephew, rolled her eyes and immediately pointed at Jiang Mui, saying, Mr. Lu, this guy came to smash your window early in the morning. I found him, so I was going to beat him up for you. Jiang Mui was stunned. Jiang Mui glared at her. Shameless, how dare you say you didn't smash my window? Ning, she said sternly. Lu Tingxiao reached out and removed a strand of grass from the girl's hair. Then, he rubbed her head in a very natural manner. Don't mess around. Go wash up. It's time for breakfast. Oh, right away. Ning, she made a face at Jiang Mui proudly and skipped away. At this moment, Jiang Mui wanted to grab Ning Xi and yell at her. Once, twice, 3 times. Lu Tingxiao has already made it so obvious. Are your titanium alloy dog eyes blind? Chapter 101. After returning to her room, Ning Xi suddenly remembered that she had forgotten something very important. She didn't know what would happen after the video was exposed last night. It was all Jiang Mui's fault. He had been making trouble for her since he came back. Ning Xi turned on her computer and quickly browsed through all the relevant information. Last night, the video of Zhou Qingqing's NG 33 times in a row quickly became a hot topic, and the comments below were full of curses. Ning Xi's superb acting surprised everyone and received unanimous praise. Then, everyone began to question the authenticity of the Weibo post that said Ning Xi had nothing to show for but sleeping with others. Then, one after another, fake accounts anonymously exposed that Zhou Qingqing had maliciously slapped Ning Xi in the movie, slapped her assistant in private, and acted like a big shot to make things difficult for the crew. Later on, various artists and staff who usually disliked Zhou Qingqing began to reveal similar encounters in person, completely destroying the mask that Zhou Qingqing had forged in front of her fans. The makeup artist. I hated Ning Xi at first because Zhou Qingqing always picked on Ning Xi. In order to make things difficult for Ning Xi, she often vented her anger on the staff. In order to make Ning Xi wait, she kept finding fault with me and asked me to redo her makeup almost every day. At that time, I felt that I was implicated by Ning Xi, so I hated her for a long time. In fact, she wasn't wrong at all. I know that someone will definitely cause trouble for me if I say these things, but I really feel guilty if I don't say it. That day when Jiang Mui's fans came to the set to make trouble, if Ning Xi didn't block a stone for me with her arm, my face would have been disfigured. Stage supervisor Xiao Li, what do you mean by being outspoken and hating evil? Jia Qingqing is an arrogant, domineering tumor of the crew. She's always late and leaves early, and she's always bossy. She doesn't treat us, the crew, as human beings. I have to run dozens of errands for her every day. Does she think I'm her servant? As for Ningxi, although she is usually a loner and looks a little cold, she has always been polite to the crew. Every time after filming, she would thank everyone. Even if we don't respond to her because we are biased against her, she still does it every time. Director's assistant, my words carry little weight, but I still want to be fair. Only on the first day of filming, someone came to give Ningxi something. Usually, I don't see Ningxi flirting with any man. It was normal for a beautiful woman to have a few suitors behind her. Who would have thought that things would become like that? Cameraman, Ningxi is absolutely professional. She has a good sense of the camera and knows how to move. Unless it's because of someone else, she can basically pass in one take, so every time I take her, I feel the most relaxed. As for Jia Qingqing, she was probably every photographer's nightmare. She had gone overboard with her plastic surgery, and the shape of her nose was very strange. She kept complaining that her skills were bad. Did she think that she could do a one-to-one Photoshop? Director Guo Chisheng thought, the comments on the internet about Ningxi being raped are pure nonsense. This is not only an insult to Ningxi, but also an insult to our whole crew. Originally, I thought that when our movie was released, after everyone saw Ningxi's performance, justice would be clear. But the current development of the matter has seriously affected the shooting process of the crew. Now I will release a group of highlights in advance. Everyone can see it for themselves. Video, producer Wang Taihe, hey, everyone has spoken. Then let me say something too. I saw a lot of people say that our show suddenly received an investment of 50 million yuan because of the investor behind Ningxi. In order to clear up the rumors, I asked for the investor's consent, and now I announce his identity. Ningxi had expected that many people in the crew had reached the limit of their tolerance for Jia Qingqing. As long as one person spoke out, there would be an endless stream of others. But she didn't expect that while they were denouncing Jia Qingqing, they would also praise her. It was an unexpected gain. After all, it was a pleasant thing to be recognized for one's hard work. Wang Taihe's Weibo made her most curious. She hurriedly clicked on the Weibo of the ID Little Prince to see who the investor was. Chapter 102. The next second, Ningxi was speechless. The Little Prince of Karp's Weibo account was, CEO of Shengsha Entertainment, Lu Jingli, you're the boss of an entertainment company. Why is your ID so funny? You're like a teenager. She didn't expect that Lu Jingli was the one who added the investment. It was unexpected, but reasonable. After all, this was Jiang Mui's first film after he returned to China, so Shengsha naturally supported him. They had invested 50 million yuan just to play the supporting role. No wonder they were the richest company in the industry. After Wang Taihe's Weibo post, all the doubts were solved. The stain on Ningxi was completely cleared, while Jia Qingqing was given the reputation of being a big shot with a bad character and acting skills. Unfortunately, although people with discerning eyes could see that Jia Qingqing was behind Ningxi's scandal, there was no concrete evidence. Ningxi's expectation had been achieved, but she didn't expect that there would be a more explosive development. Last night, Jia Qingqing's agent, Han Ying, posted on Weibo. Han Ying directly posted the whole process of Jia Qingqing hiring the internet water army to slander Ningxi, and sneaking into Jiang Mui's fans to maliciously stir up emotions and use them to attack Ningxi. What was more shocking was that Han Ying exposed that Jia Qingqing was a fake daughter and a mistress. Jia Qingqing's rumored rich father was not her biological father at all, but her godfather, who already had a wife and a child. Han Ying's Weibo contained a lot of ambiguous chat records and large-scale pornographic photos. Jia Qingqing couldn't deny it even if she had 10,000 mouths. At present, there was only one way for Jia Qingqing, and that was to go into hiding. As for when she could make a comeback, it was almost impossible for her to make a comeback in the entertainment industry, which was a place where thousands of sales passed by. After Han Ying's Weibo post, which went against her professional ethics and exposed her artist's privacy, her career as a manager was basically ruined. No one knew what kind of conflict she had with Jia Qingqing that she would do something as intense as perishing together. After the incident became a big deal, Xinghui Entertainment tried to delete the post and the topic, but it was impossible. Instead, it made the netizens even angrier. Therefore, in order to appease the public's discontent, Xinghui could only issue a statement, saying that it would severely investigate Jia Qingqing's maliciously slandering Ningxi. As for the matter of Jia Qingqing being a kept woman, the company had not said anything yet. It ambiguously said that it would conduct further investigation. Obviously, it was still reluctant to give up on Jia Qingqing, who had spent a lot of money to cultivate. Ningxi didn't have a chance today. She had planned to have a good rest at home, but the matter had become so big that she was destined to be restless. She had just finished breakfast when she was called to the company. Ning Xueluo, Chang Li, Jia Qingqing, and the Director of Public Relations, Feng Haoyang, were all present in the meeting room. Jia Qingqing lowered her head, and there were 2 heavy dark circles under her eyes. As soon as she saw Ningxi, she stood up as if she had been injected with chicken blood. Ningxi, you bitch. Are you proud of yourself now? Just you wait, I won't let you off. Ningxi picked her ears helplessly. It was the same lines every time. She was almost getting calluses from listening to them. Shut up. Haven't you made enough trouble? Feng Haoyang scolded impatiently. Jia Qingqing was very unwilling, but she could only sit down aggrievedly. Her cowardly godfather had lost contact with them as soon as their affair was exposed. Now her fate was completely in Feng Haoyang's hands. Sit down. Feng Haoyang said to Ningxi. He looked hesitant and seemed to be making a decision. At this time, Chang Li said, Ningxi, you should already know what happened last night, so I won't explain more. Here's the thing. Later, Qingqing will send an apology letter for slandering you. You can respond to it and say that you are also at fault. Be magnanimous and say that you forgive her. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.